south and east here. And again, we're going to have to watch Monette and Leachville over about the next hour. You see Paragould is pretty much over you right now. New Hope, Arkansas at about 11:18, Monette at 11:50, and Leachville at 11:56. So we have a little bit of time. Again, these storms are moving very slowly, but we will be watching out Leachville in northwestern Mississippi County, Arkansas for that potential of a tornado. Again, right now, this is the only warning we have, but it is concerning enough we wanted to hop on with you and provide you with that update. Just to zoom out and show you what's going on in other parts of the area. Western Tennessee is dry right now. North Mississippi is dry. We have a couple of storms in Cross County, Arkansas that do have a severe thunderstorm warning with them, but right now no tornado warning is going to be in effect. We did have a tornado warning earlier for some storms back in central Arkansas, but for right now, it is just a severe thunderstorm warning. The only tornado warning we have barely includes Mississippi County, Arkansas. But again, it does include the community of Leachville, and that's why we've decided to hop on with you right now. Let's zoom into where this thing is. And again, right now, the area of concern with this tornado warning is over Paragould, Arkansas. We're talking way up in Greene County. And as that thing is moving toward the southeast, again, Leachville, that would be the area that we watch out for this possible rotation. Let's turn on our rotation mode. Again, right now, seeing some signs of some weak rotation near Paragould. It doesn't appear right now we have a tornado on the ground, but we're in a really strong environment for these storms to get going really quickly. So it does not take much for storms to get going in an environment like this. So again, near Paragould now, moving toward the southeast. This does include parts of Mississippi County and Leachville. We need you in your tornado safe place there. Now, this does not include Blytheville. So if you're in Blytheville, keep an eye on things. But right now, you're not in the warning. Who is Leachville. If you're in Leachville, go to the basement or a small center room. Stay away from windows and cover yourself. Of course, we don't have any high-rise buildings in Leachville, so you don't need to worry about going down to the lowest floor. But you definitely want to be in your basement or a small center room on the lowest floor of your house, away from windows, and cover yourself with something. Bicycle helmet if you have it. That's always a good bet just to make sure you are safe from any flying debris. Let's go back to the radar. They're saying with this thing really is trying to spin up here. Let's go back to our rotation mode and talk about it. What you're looking at here is the winds inside the storm. Reds are going away from the radar. Greens are coming toward. Whenever you have that green and red together, that is that area of rotation. Again, right now it's pretty much over Paragould, east of it, and it's moving down to the southeast toward Leachville and Monette. So if you're in those communities in northeast Mississippi County, Arkansas, you're going to be the ones we watch out for. Again, as we zoom out, I do want to zoom out and just kind of reset everything for you, though, because Memphis, you don't have any concerns right now. North Mississippi, you're looking good. West Tennessee's okay for now. It's that one tornado warning and a couple of other strong thunderstorms that are coming through Wynne and Cross County right now. These storms producing some really high wind. This storm especially that came through Cherry Valley a little bit ago, now just to the north of Earl and Parkin, that's going to be coming toward Turl in the next little bit. Winds in that storm, even though this is not a tornado warning, 50, 60 plus miles an hour, and this could be a storm that impacts Memphis within the next hour or two. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. This storm has had a history of tornado warnings, but for right now, this one does not have one. Again, meteorologist Corey Smith, he's also here with me tonight. Corey, our first tornado warning of the night, but we are in an environment where we could see more of these pop up. What are you seeing over there in the Weather Center?
Yeah, right now, it's really just this one storm that we've been looking at right now coming out of Greene County. There is just a ton of atmospheric energy. We got into the middle to upper 80s, plenty of moisture. So essentially rocket fuel for these kind of storms, especially as we get into the overnight hours. And of course, when we are in these overnight hours, we want to take all these warnings a little bit more seriously than we would during the daytime, because people are trying to get to sleep or maybe not paying attention to their TVs. So this is why we're going to be on with you guys through 11:45, which is when this warning specifically expires. That does include Mississippi County, Arkansas. So let's take a look at that rotation once again, just east of Paragould, and not looking very well defined here, but there still is definitely some rotation right along US 412, just east of Paragould. I'm going to go ahead and circle that rotation so you can see those greens are towards the radar over in Millington, and the red is away. This is what looks like a pretty much a rotation signature on radar. We're going to see those two colors touching each other, and this is a sign that we could see tornadic weather. Now, I will say, with how strong this is looking, we're probably not seeing a tornado on the ground, but with the atmosphere the way that it is, it might only take 10-15 minutes for something to look like this to a full-blown tornado on the ground. So that's why we're going to stay with this, especially to cover this as it gets closer towards Leachville out in Mississippi County. So let's go ahead. We're going to put a track on this and put some of the communities in the path of this storm. So I'm going to go ahead and query this real quick. And first off, I'll put the information for the warning here up on the right-hand side of our screen so that we have that, but it does include at least Mississippi County. That's the one county that we're watching in our viewing area currently. This is moving to the east-southeast at 20 miles per hour. So I'm going to go ahead and put that track up there. We're going to put some of those communities and give you a call out for where this could end up in the next hour. So I'm going to track it out exactly 1 hour from now. It's potential that maybe this doesn't hold together that long, but we want to get you at least in the know that this could be on the way. So Childress right around 11:37 p.m., Paulding 11:47, 11:51 in Leachville, Rington around 11:56, Buckeye 12:03 a.m., so that's getting into Monday morning, and Manila right around 12:10. And one thing, Trevor, these storms are moving very slowly. A lot of times we talk about storms moving 40, 50, 60 miles per hour. These are crawling around 20 to 30 miles per hour to the east-southeast. So these are storms that we're going to be dealing with really for the next few hours. Those tornado watches that are outside of these warnings are going until at least 5 a.m. here in the Mid-South. So we're really just in the beginning of this.
Yeah, that's right, Corey. And there's kind of a bonus to the fact that they're moving slow is that you have a lot of heads up for when these storms do turn severe. We can give you a lot of lead time for when it's going to be in your neighborhood. The other problem is when they go so slow, you get a lot of heavy rain, and that could lead to some flooding. We've already seen that this morning with some storms we had earlier today up in this part of northeastern Arkansas. Now, they did just update this tornado warning. They trimmed a little bit of it back. I wanted to get rid of the radar for just a second, just kind of reset the stage and show you what we're talking about. So this is the Missouri Boot Heel. You've got Dunklin and Pemiscot County there. This is for far northwestern Mississippi County. It does not include Blytheville. It does not include Osceola. It is a very small area in northwestern Mississippi County, but it does include the town of Leachville. And that is why we're on with you right now, because Leachville is technically under our watch. They're in our viewing area, and we didn't want to leave them out. So we did hop on for that. But if you are in Leachville, I want you in your safe place now. Something they're talking about as we go back to the radar mode, this area of rotation kind of moving around a little bit. So they're saying it might be a little bit outside of this box. Looks like they're going to issue another tornado warning to kind of make up for that. We'll see where that ends up being issued, but I imagine it's going to be near a similar area in northwest Mississippi County. So again, Blytheville and Osceola, you are not in this warning. Now, this whole storm is headed your way. So just a heads up, if you are in Blytheville or Osceola, this storm is going to pack a little bit of a punch, but we are seeing, again, right now, the only storm that has a potential of a tornado is near Paragould in Greene County. It's moving toward the southeast, toward Leachville. So be in your safe place now if you are in Leachville. While we're waiting on that new tornado warning and the latest information, I do want to reset and just zoom out to talk about everybody, because if you're watching in Memphis, North Mississippi, or Western Tennessee, things are pretty quiet right now, but we are seeing storms that are going to continue to fire up. Here's that new tornado warning. I'll get back to that thought here in just a second, but this is your new box. So now, Blytheville, you are in this. Just a moment ago, I said you weren't. This new tornado warning does now include the city of Blytheville. Let's go back to just the warnings mode. We'll talk about where this new box is. This is going to be for southern Dunklin, southern Pemiscot, and northern Mississippi County. This warning is going to be in effect, I believe, until midnight. So yes, we have about 45 more minutes on this warning. So this one goes from Leachville toward Blytheville with this new tornado warning. And I want you to pay attention here. This is right up against Dyer County too. So as these storms continue to move south, we're going to have to watch you in Dyersburg and Dyer County, because these storms are going to be packing a punch. Again, if you're just waking up with us, maybe your phone is making a little noise in Blytheville now. The reason we're on with you is because we have a tornado warning for northern Mississippi County, Arkansas until midnight. Leachville and Blytheville, you're the cities included in that in Mississippi County, Arkansas. Time to be in your tornado safe place if you're there. This whole storm moving south everybody's going to see high wind and heavy rain out of this, but there is a little area of rotation too that we're watching. I want to zoom back in and talk about where that is. Right now, it's pretty much on the Missouri-Arkansas line. So we're talking on the western side of the boot heel, western Dunklin County, just about to cross into Missouri, and then eventually it's going to kind of meander its way back along the Mississippi County line. We'll zoom out just a little bit here and get a better view of this. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to switch over to our shear mode, and that might help to clean it up just a little bit. So there you can see that green dot there. That is our area of rotation, and it's going to kind of do a number like this as it moves down toward the east-southeast. So let's put another storm track on this. It's moving slow. It's only at about 25 or 30 miles an hour, but that's going to put it near Cardwell at 1136, Rainton at 1155, Hornersville at 1206, Clay at 1214, Gosnell, Arkansas at 1232, Blytheville at 1242. So we have a long time before this thing gets to Blytheville. We'll hope that it will weaken before it does, but we're in such an environment where there's so much energy. I don't really think these storms are going to weaken too much. So again, just a heads up, if you're in northern Mississippi County, Arkansas, Blytheville and Leachville, you're the two communities impacted by this right now. Be in your safe place. This also includes communities in southern Pemiscot County, Steele, Cooter, southern portions of Caruthersville, you're in this warning, as is Cardwell in Dunklin County. Again, lowest floor of your home, away from windows, get into the center portion of your home, a bathroom or a closet, and stay there until the warning is expired. You can also download our app. We're live streaming there now at ABC24 on your App Store and Google Play with that latest information. A new severe thunderstorm warning now coming out. And this is a big severe thunderstorm warning. We've got another little batch of storms popping up down here a little closer to Memphis. Now this one does not have a tornado warning on it. We only have that one tornado warning, and it's for Blytheville and Leachville in Arkansas. Everybody else is just dealing with thunderstorm warnings, which is for wind and hail. It's this line of storms coming through Earl, Parkin, Wynn, Cherry Valley that is producing some pretty high wind as well. Let's get the latest on this one. This severe thunderstorm warning here, this one's also going to go until midnight. It's producing 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. Now this storm moving east a little bit quicker at about 40 miles an hour. So as we put a track on this one, again, this is moving off to the east, maybe a little bit of a southward component in there, but this is really going to be the one that probably impacts more of the Memphis area. So again, what we're tracking out in here, wind and a little bit of hail. This storm we'll have to watch though, because like I said, we're in such an environment where tornadoes can tend to spin up pretty quickly. So even though this storm is not producing a tornado right now, we're going to have to watch it carefully. It's going to be near Crawfordsville at 1136. Forest City at 1141, West Memphis at 1156, a little closer to Memphis, maybe a little closer to midnight or 1230. We'll be watching that. Again, right now it's just some rain and wind, but these storms tend to intensify pretty quickly. All right, Corey, I want to get back over to you for just a second because we do have that tornado warning for northern Mississippi County. That's the only tornado warning we have, the only people who need to be concerned about a tornado, Blytheville and Leachville, but it is a storm that is showing signs of rotation. You've been down at street level checking out those winds. What are you seeing over there? Yeah, and before we get into that, I want to show you guys something because there's something pretty interesting going on the radar as of right now. And you'll notice we have this tornado warning that does include Mississippi County, but look towards the east of this. There is not a single severe thunderstorm warning stretching all the way into Middle Tennessee over towards Nashville. And there's a reason for this, and this could play a role into how long this actually lasts as a tornado warned storm. I'm going to circle a little feature that we're seeing right here. This is what we call an outflow boundary, and this is essentially cold air being pushed south from this line, and we're seeing these storms get outrun by this. This is pretty much setting up an atmosphere that's not good for strong storms. This tornado warned storm is pushing into what we call this cold pool, and this could be a good sign that potentially if you're in Dyer County, this storm might hit this cold air and fizzle out. So this is the hope with that, and this honestly puts my attention more so after this storm starts to move into that to these other storms that we're seeing out towards the west, including the ones that Trevor was just tracking
that could impact the Memphis Metro a little bit later on here. These are going to be the ones to watch as you go further on into the night because of that colder air setting up. But let's go ahead, like Trevor said, we're going to take a closer look once again at this storm and take a look at the velocity and show you where we're seeing that rotation in the storm currently right now, because we are seeing, it looks like maybe a new area of circulation, Trevor.
Yeah, they're just talking about that right now.
Yeah, just to the northwest here of Shug, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Arkansas 135 is right now. So this is right outside the box, and this is going to be probably the area that we're going to be watching now. I think the other area of rotation kind of falling apart here. So this is going to be right about here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put a track on this off of what we have, at least storm motion-wise, from our last storm. And let me go ahead and I'll put that warning back up on the top left so that we do have that there. But this is moving towards the east at 50 miles per hour. So moving quite quickly here with this circulation. I'll go ahead and put that track down because this looks like this is going to be what we're looking at compared to that old circulation, which seems to be not really existing too much anymore. And this just shows how much spin is in the atmosphere, that we've been tracking 2 to 3 different areas of rotation in this storm alone, probably in the last 20 to 30 minutes. So this is going to include, and let me move everything out of the way here so that you can see those cities. Leachville, 11:38 p.m. Rington, 11:42. That's going to include Clay around 11:51. Blytheville right at midnight, and Steele right around 12:07 a.m. here. So, Trevor, a very volatile environment, it seems like here. We're seeing these really quick spin-ups, which shows us that there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere, but it does seem like at least that line out towards the east is going to play a role into what we're seeing in the rest of the Mid-South.
You're right, Corey, and it's really interesting, not to get too technical here, but we kind of have to watch as meteorologists how these storms interact together, because sometimes you get a couple of storms that come together. They can intensify each other. Sometimes they kind of mess each other up. So we're going to be watching that tonight. I will tell you overnight, my biggest concern continues to be damaging wind gusts and heavy rain. Most of you watching tonight are going to get a quick round of rain, some thunder and lightning, some heavy rain, and it'll be done. It's going to be a typical thunderstorm. The reason we're a little more concerned is because there's so much energy in the atmosphere that one or two of these storms could produce a tornado. Now, that's not going to happen everywhere. Most of you will not see a tornado tonight, thankfully, but we're going to have to watch a couple of these storms. This storm, a little more concerning to me now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. We got some reports in from our ABC affiliate in Jonesboro of some damage near Paragould. Now, that could have been from wind, could have been from a brief tornado. But it seems to me now that the area of rotation now to the south of Paragould, Jonesboro back here. So we're just to the south of Paragould, and that is just about to cross into northern Mississippi County. So I want to go back to our rotation mode, and that little green dot that you're seeing back there, that is the area of possible rotation. Here's Leachville, and then there's Arkansas 77. This is the Missouri-Arkansas line as you go into Dunklin County. So Leachville, Wisp, County Road 314, Big Lake, Arkansas is there in northern Mississippi County. Stark City, 181. If there is a tornado, that's where it's going to be headed. So Leachville, go ahead and get in your tornado safe place. This may end up being nothing, but I want you to be safe than sorry. Get the kids out of bed. Go ahead and get up yourself and get into that bathroom or a closet if you're in Leachville. It looks like this might try to go north of a town proper, but I still want you in your tornado safe place. Again, this storm has kind of even been fluctuating on speed just a little bit. We've gone, up and down just a little bit. Still looks to me maybe like a little bit of a slower mover here. So as we track this out over the next hour, possible rotation near Red Onion, Missouri at 11:46. Happy Corners at 11:54. Leachville within about 30 minutes at midnight. So you have plenty of heads up to where this possible tornado might be in Leachville, Arkansas. And again, we've seen this weaken and strengthen time and time again. So this storm could fall apart. Let's hope and pray that it does before it gets near Leachville. But I want to give you an early heads up. If you are in Leachville, possible tornado near you by midnight. Hornersville at 12:25, Gilbert at 12:36, and Half Moon, Arkansas, a little closer to Blytheville by 12:41. Monette, someone's asking about Monette in the chat, and it looks to me, honestly, like this is going to be a little bit to the north of Monette. So there's Monette right there. There's your area of rotation, and it's moving a little more east than south. So I think this would be more of an issue for Leachville. Monette, you're not technically in the tornado warning, but I think we will have to watch Leachville and eventually Blytheville a little more carefully for that possible rotation. So just keep an eye out if you're in Monette, but right now, no, I think it's going to be mainly a situation that goes up to the north of you. I want to go back to the wind mode, and I always tell people I'm with you, and I understand that this mode of the radar looks a little wild to you. I get it. But this is looking at the wind and the storm, and what this will show me is where there's rotation. Still coming up on Red Onion, Missouri, and again, eventually north of Leachville on 77. So Leachville, again, just keep an eye on this. I want you to be in your safe place. Gigi asking about North Mississippi. I'll reset one more time because we have been on for a while now. I just want to start all the way over, coming up on 11:30 as we track these storms. I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett, meteorologist Corey Smith, also here. North Mississippi, quiet and calm right now. There's not a drop of rain in North Mississippi, so that's good. But we're going to watch this batch of storms here as it's moving. High wind, heavy rain concerns in North Mississippi overnight tonight. Same story for Memphis and Millington. There's nothing going on right now, but it's this batch of storms that's going to strengthen a little bit, move to the east, and possibly be a little stronger as it rolls through the metro. Corey, what you got?
Yeah, so National Weather Service, and I want us to zoom in on that line right there. You can start to see what's appearing to be an inflow notch forming on this line that you were just mentioning. And National Weather Service saying this is starting to be a little bit of a concerning look. If we switch over to the velocity right now, there's not much in the way of a rotation signature, but we're starting to see this storm potentially get the structure that could lead to some rotation as it gets closer to Shelby County. So I just wanted to come in for a second and let you know that is something that we're watching. This might be the next storm to kind of be on our radar as we go through at least the next hour or so.
And Corey, you're right. And like we talked about, these storms are in an environment. Just to show you, I want to show you our storm energy for just a second. There is a ton of storm energy out there. These purples and reds, these are all zones where there is just plenty of storm energy to work with. So right now, these storms that are coming into the Memphis area, they do not have a tornado warning on them, but they're strong enough that we're going to have to watch them because they're going to continue to strengthen. There's nothing holding these storms back from strengthening. So right now, this batch of storms is a wind and a hail threat and some gusty wind. But if it gets its act together anymore, I wouldn't be surprised to see a quick tornado try to spin up. Again, that's not a concern right now. We're mainly watching the heavy rain and the wind. As we zoom into Turl, Arkansas, and Rich, maybe we could find that camera on the RDOT network, I-55 near Turl. It's going to be just to the north of West Memphis, Arkansas. There's some heavy rain and wind there. Earl and Parkin on 64, you're dealing with the heavy rain and the wind as well. And again, back toward Wynn on 64, it's the same thing for you. It's heavy rain and it's gusty wind. I do want to track this out, though, because we're talking about the wind and the heavy rain in this. And this is going to be the batch that moves into Memphis and into North Mississippi eventually. So that's going to be the area we watch just a little bit more. Again, right now, if you're in Memphis, there's no concern with a tornado. There's wind and rain. Typical thunderstorm that we've been through a million times before. So I don't want to get you too worked up if you're in Memphis, but I do want to get your attention and tell you to just keep an eye on things as this progresses. I don't think it's going to weaken. I think it could strengthen a little bit as it crosses the river. The question is how much, but right now it's going to be the wind and the hail threat and some heavy rain as well. We'll put another storm track on this as it moves to the east and southeast. Forest City, some wind and heavy rain, 11:45. West Memphis at 11:59. Downtown Memphis around midnight. Midtown Memphis at 12:18. Germantown at 12:34. Walls at 12:35. South Haven at about 12:45 in the morning. Again, that right now is tracking some wind and rain. No tornado concern at this minute with these storms, but they're definitely heavy, and again, maybe some hail mixed in there too. We were just looking at that. I want to zoom in to near Earl because that is an area that is probably seeing a little bit of hail right now north of 64. So right between Parkin and Earl, some decent sized hail in there. And again, this is the storm rolling toward Memphis. So wind, heavy rain and hail, the biggest concerns for the Memphis Metro right now. But we're going to have to keep a watch to see if these storms can get their act together a little bit more. Hopefully they don't. But with the environment we have, we can't rule anything out. I do want to go back to our tornado warning, though, because that's really the reason we're with you right now, is this tornado warning that includes parts of the Missouri Boot Heel and northern Mississippi County. So this one's going to go for southern Pemiscot County, Carruthers Village just to the south of you, southern Dunklin County, and the far northern portion of Mississippi County, Arkansas. It does not include Osceola. It does not include Luxor or anybody like that. It's going to be Blytheville and Leachville that are in this warning right along the Missouri and Arkansas state line. So it's kind of that corridor we're going to watch. Let's check the radar, the wind mode on this, and just see how this storm is acting. Rotation not as strong as it was a bit ago. You see there are a couple of dots in here of some weak rotation. But earlier, we had a really defined signature near Paragould of some rotation. I don't see that as much anymore. That's good. That means this storm might be trying to calm down a little bit. But we've seen this storm do this before. It's weakened, and then it's ramped back up. So I still want you in your safe place. If you're in Leachville, Stark City, Blytheville, Steele, or Cooter in southern Missouri, southern Dunklin and Pemiscot counties in the Missouri Boot Heel, go ahead and be in your safe place. But again, right now, it seems like that storm might be trying to calm down just a little bit. Let's hope that it stays that way. But really, even without a tornado warning, we've got this storm that is producing some high wind and some heavy rain that's all moving down to the south. So we've got kind of two clusters of storms working here as we look over the laps for the last 2 hours. So we've got these storms coming in from the north. We've got storms coming in from the west. What's eventually going to happen, they're going to make one big line across the area, and that's when we're going to see that tornado potential come down a little bit. As soon as these storms can make one big old line, it's going to be more of a wind and rain threat. But as long as they're a little bit separated, that's when those tornadoes can try to spin up. That's what we're seeing right now in northern Mississippi County. Corey Smith, he's also here with us, meteorologist Corey Smith. He's been watching the radar and really looking at the overall setup. The atmosphere primed for storms today, and we're seeing them fire up, Corey.
Yeah, and it looks like really what we're watching is this northern storm, at least for rotation right now. Not really seeing anything too much of a strong signature here. We do have some movement of air here that appears to be more of a downburst signature potentially, or weak rotation. It's a little bit hard to tell with all the noise as we get a little bit further from the radar like this. But if we do have rotation, it's going to be right here just south of Cardwell. This is in the Missouri Boot Heel. And I will say very weak if this is even rotation that's going to persist. We've been seeing this rotation off and on in this storm pretty much throughout the night. Nothing really to indicate that there has even been a tornado on the ground with this. There's very likely been some stronger winds, but thankfully, and one tool that I'll switch us over to that we haven't used quite tonight is the debris detector. Typically, we'll see some greens and blues in a circle shape that would show us that there's debris being lofted, and we have not seen that at all tonight. So definitely some great signs. If this can continue, hopefully this tornado warning can come and go by midnight, which gives us about another 23 minutes here on air, at least for this storm. I do want to zoom out, though, and show you guys what's going on. We also have some isolated showers and downpours, so I just want to go over some areas that we haven't really talked about too much. Just near Ashport, we're seeing some downpours just east of Ripley as well. So you might be hearing some lightning, some thunder. You might be hearing some rain outside. You're not underneath a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning right now. It's really just these two segments. And then I will say right now, we do have a new warning that was just put out that's going right up to Crockett County, and it includes portions of Dyer County, it looks like here, as this line continues to push off towards the south. So we have a little bit of a different movement with where this line is, and it might be a little bit confusing. So I want to draw out what we're looking at. We're looking at this part of the line moving almost due south completely. We have this part of the line up north, or we have the tornado warning that's moving more east, and then we also have these showers and storms that are severe warned out in Arkansas Arkansas that are also moving towards the east-southeast. So we have a couple different directions, Trevor, here that we're moving tonight. So it's going to be important to talk about these communities as you go forward, because it might not be coming from the way that you'd expect.
Yeah, several different directions, several storms going to be mixing together over the next little bit. Corey, great analysis there. Appreciate it as always. Keep an eye on things. Give me a shout if you see anything popping up on your end. But to me right now, I know we have that tornado warning. Right now, it does not look as strong to me. We're watching it, but as Corey was mentioning, the rotation is just not as strong in Mississippi County near Leachville as it was a bit ago. Stay in your safe place. If you're in Leachville or Blytheville, give me 20 more minutes just to be on the safe side. But I'm really starting to watch this line right here. A ton of lightning from Turl to Earl, Parkin, Wynn, north of Forest City, almost 600 strikes in 15 minutes. And we'll take a look outside. We have a camera from near Turl on I-55, and you can see it's really almost constant lightning out there. Heavy rain. You see the wind is blowing around out there, and you see those bright flashes of lightning as well. So again, that is near Turl, Arkansas, kind of in the heaviest part of the thunderstorm. And this is the particular storm I'm going to watch more carefully, because that's the one that's going to be coming into Memphis. Let's go back to the radar so we can kind of zoom in a little bit here. Again, I do want to remind you, no tornado warning for the storm that's coming toward Memphis right now. Again, but there are so many ingredients for severe weather tonight. We still have to watch it, but to me, this looks like it's going to be more of a wind and a hail concern. You can see there's also a ton of lightning. I'm really watching near Earl right now, just north of it at least. It seems like there's a little bit of hail trying to pop up. You see where there's darker colors are. So that's 118 going up toward Turl, just to the north of Highway 64 near Three Forks. Again, this is in Crittenden County. And you see just north of Earl, we had some hail a little bit ago. Could be as high as inch-sized hail. That's about the size of a quarter. And that is moving east. So I-55 between Turl and Clarkdale, the potential for some hail and some high wind is there. While we're here, we're kind of investigating the storm. We'll go to the wind mode as well. And again, I know this looks a little messy, but all you need to know really is the brighter the color, the higher the wind. Very high winds right now on 64 between Wynn and Earl. Not a tornado, but the winds are pretty high out there, Corey, just east of Wynn coming into Earl.
Yeah, I just want to tell you real quick, we'll keep it on you right now, but tornado, or I should say severe thunderstorm warning you can see just now being issued for Shelby County. So that's going to be something that we're tracking here. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 1.5-inch hail potential here until 12:30 at night. So that means that we're going to be on with you guys through 12:30 at least in the morning as this storm continues to work off towards the east. It looks like the northern portion of Shelby County, the northern Memphis Metro included in that warning, Trevor.
Yeah, and understandably so. I mean, we were just talking about how high the winds are. And again, to me right now, that's the biggest concern for Memphis is going to be the high wind. It doesn't look like as much of a tornado concern for me right now in Memphis. That could change, but for now, it's the wind that I'm a little bit more concerned about. Give me just 1 second here. Let me type this out. Communicating with our digital team here. And again, just to the east of Wynn, I mean, look at this. This is a radar estimate. Winds probably, once that gets to the ground, close to 70 miles an hour east of Wynn, and that's coming into Crittenden County, Arkansas. So even though we don't have a tornado right now with this batch of storms, it's still a very strong line of storms, and it could still do damage. It does not take a tornado to cause damage. That kind of wind can easily knock things around just a little bit. So let's track this line of storms as it's rolling a little closer to Memphis, because again, this is the line that's going to impact us here in Memphis. Forest City within the next 2 or 3 minutes. Guys, let's get that camera on RDOT. Back in the back. I know I'm throwing you around a little bit. I see you were on TDOT, but if we go to the RDOT map and go back toward I-40 in Forest City, that's going to be a little bit back to the east or to the west of the Memphis Metro, but Forest City right there. Let's see if we can get that camera, that storm coming in there. Marion at 11:51, West Memphis at 12:04, and then eventually crossing the river into Memphis by about 12:15, 12:30. Germantown at 12:39, South Haven at 12:47. Collierville at 12:53. So again, no tornado concern for Memphis right now, but the high wind and the heavy rain, maybe even some hail, going to be an issue as well. Let's see if we can get a quick look at this Forest City camera. Again, some lightning. Let's go ahead and just take that full screen there. I got some lightning out there off in the distance. Again, this is in Forest City with that line of storms. This is the same batch that is going to be coming into Memphis as well in the next little bit. So some high wind and some heavy rain in there, and again, a ton of lightning. Now would be probably a great time to charge your cell phones. This one up near Turl. And again, we probably have some hail in here too, just to the east of Earl, Arkansas, coming into Memphis. All right, let's head back to the radar. We'll go back to this tornado warning because we have an update coming in from this tornado warning. They're going to let the tornado warning go. So that is some good news at midnight. There's still 15 minutes left on the tornado warning, but for right now, it does not look like this storm is still producing a tornado. The rotation has calmed down a little bit. That's good. We were talking about that. Let's hope that continues to happen. Still a rough storm up near Clay and Steele in the Missouri Boot Heel, but the tornado concern calming down just a little bit. Again, rain and wind still bad up here, but that tornado concern, it's going to relax just a little bit, and it sounds like for right now, they're going to let this tornado warning go at midnight. We'll zoom out. We haven't done this in a while. We'll zoom out and just show everybody what is going on. And again, it's this batch of storms. Now we're really starting to watch this little line here from northern Hardman County back toward Wynne and Forest City. That's going to be an issue probably for Shelby County, worst of it south of Tipton County, but Shelby County, Crittenden, DeSoto, St. Francis, wind, the biggest concern with this. I'll say it again, not a tornado warning, so no reason to be too alarmed with this. It's mainly going to be a wind and a hail concern in here. But you see how coming into Shelby County now, that storm kind of has that curve to it. That's going to be coming right into like Shelby Forest, Fraser, Millington. That could be where we're seeing some pretty high wind. And I want to switch back to the wind mode and just investigate just a little bit. And again, I know this looks like a lot on your screen, but this is going to allow me to kind of poke around and investigate just how high these winds could be. Winds near Wynne. So here's wind, 64 comes through there, Parkin and Earl. 60 to 70 mile an hour winds easily, and that's going to come across I-55 and into Memphis. So even without a tornado, power outages and maybe some tree damage possible with this round of storms. This camera, is this one in the vid wall, is that Forest City still? Okay, which one is that? Oh, okay, let's go to I-55 now as this storm's approaching, because I just told you that's going to be approaching I-55 in the next little bit. This is going to be up near Turl, Arkansas. This is looking up 555 headed toward Jonesboro. Almost constant lightning within the storm. We've seen a ton of that, and that's going to be one of the bigger concerns as well, is all of that lightning with this storm that is rolling on in. Let's check out the other camera, just get a better idea of what's going on across the area, because I do want to let you know what's coming in to Memphis and what to expect. The lightning obviously going to be a big deal. There's a lot of lightning in there. Biggest concern for the Memphis Metro right now, that would include Shelby County, Crittenden, DeSoto, wind and hail. There's probably some hail falling, about to be hail on I-55 near Turl, Arkansas within just the next little bit. Now we are getting some reports in just the last little bit, and it's technically out of our area, but I want to give you the heads up because I know we have a lot of folks that live up that way. I've got some family up here. Paragould, apparently we're getting reports now from our ABC affiliate in Jonesboro, Region 8. There is some pretty significant damage in Paragould. Now again, whether that was from high wind, whether that was from a quick tornado, yet to be seen. There was a tornado warning for Paragould not too long ago, but it seems like really on the northern side of Paragould, up near Greene County Tech, could be some damage. So if you do have folks in Paragould, might want to give them a call, make sure they're doing okay, because this storm has produced some damage. Again, it could have been just some high wind that came through, but we did have a tornado warning at that time in Paragould and a signature of some rotation. That storm now moving off a little bit more to the south and east. Technically, Blytheville's still in that tornado warning, but it does not seem to me like it's producing a tornado right now. It's come down in intensity just a little bit, which is good from when it was in Paragould. We're going to have to watch it, though, because these storms can ramp back up. So still technically a tornado warning for southern Pemiscot down near Steele and Cooter, southern Dunklin, and northern Mississippi County in Arkansas. But the bigger concern with this becoming the wind. CJ in the Facebook chat wants to know how high these winds are going to be. In general, I would expect as these storms come through your neighborhood, expect winds as high as 50 to 60 miles an hour, which again is not as strong as a tornado, but it can still do some damage, especially with how wet the ground has been for the last several days. You get a good gust of wind, you could have trees come down, you could have power outages. So this is your heads up. If you're in Memphis, Shelby County, DeSoto County, or Crittenden County, we're gonna have some pretty high wind and heavy rain roll through. Winds as high as 50 to 60 miles an hour. Hail, not out of the question. Could have some hail as large as quarter size. And some heavy rain and just a ton of lightning. Corey, I know that tornado warning is set to expire, which is good. That tornado warning is for northern Mississippi County. It doesn't seem like it's rotating as much as it was earlier. In other words, the signs of a tornado just really are not there as much. But what are you seeing as you take a look at things over there?
Yeah, and that's really the good news there is that we're really not seeing any rotation with this. And one thing that we're looking at as well, we actually talked about this earlier, these outflow boundaries. So essentially, it's the cooler air coming out from these storms. And if I go ahead and move this down, you can see essentially where that is. It's outrunning the storm now. This is a good sign and a good reason why we are seeing that weakening is because this is running into cool air essentially, which is not good for thunderstorms. They like warm, moist air. This is cool, moist air. So we're not getting that fuel that it needs. So I'm going to switch us back over real quick to that velocity, essentially those wind speeds, and show you what we're not seeing, and that's rotation. Essentially what we would be looking for is a tight area of green and red on your screen touching each other. We're not seeing that right now. You see a lot of greens on there. That means winds coming towards the radar in Millington. That means we're seeing straight line winds, so just normal wind with this thunderstorm. We're not seeing any spin. So it looks like right now we've got about 10 minutes until this tornado warning does expire. We probably will not see it extended at this point, and I will say that if you're in northern Mississippi County, very likely that you do not have a tornado on the way to where you live. But that doesn't mean to not take this storm seriously. In fact, any storm tonight, definitely take some caution with, because the atmosphere is so full of energy, we're going to see a lot of wind and hail potential even outside of tornadoes. So I would say if you're in a safe place, if you've been there for this tornado warning, stay there until this expires. But I will say at least that tornado threat is a little bit lower now. Now I want to go back down south. We've been watching this storm approach the Memphis Metro. And it's starting to get over the Mississippi River now into Shelby County. There's one thing that I'm looking at right now. So there is an indication of some pretty strong winds with this, and we can actually look at it through this rainfall. When you see that transition from no rain to heavy rain like this in an extremely small space, this is a pretty good indication that we're seeing some pretty heavy winds with this storm. So if I switch us back over to what we're seeing right now on the radar, I want to show you guys some of the winds that we're picking up right now, because it's a little bit of an interesting thing. It looks like the radar not picking up potentially on some higher end wind gusts along the front edge of this, but we are still seeing some pretty decent winds. If we go ahead and sample everything, it's going to be right near Gilestown, 47 mile per hour winds. So this is right below severe limit, but still enough that we could see some light limb damage, maybe some trees down with this storm. Thankfully, we're not seeing anything sampled right next to the radar, 60 to 70 miles per hour, because we're so low in the atmosphere. That means that we would very likely be seeing that at the ground. So this is a little bit of a good indication here that thankfully it looks like these storms are not overperforming on their warnings right now. We're seeing, of course, enough wind to cause damage, but we're not seeing anything that would be concerning of maybe a downburst or a microburst along this part of the storm. Now, I will say back near Earl, the potential, maybe some stronger winds. We are looking a little bit higher up into the atmosphere with this, so we're looking higher up in the storm where there's a little bit less friction going on with the ground, which means we get higher wind speeds. But we're starting to see now some pretty significant winds being picked up here just in Earl. If we go ahead and sample this, 88 miles per hour. This is, of course, a little bit up in the atmosphere, but we're looking at anywhere from 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. Likely that we're probably seeing then 50 to 70 mile per hour at the surface ground speed. So this is going to be probably where we're going to be looking for the most right now for wind damage and power outages. It's going to be right to the east of Earl. This is going to be heading right along US 64 towards Crawfordsville, and then moving towards the east into Crittenden County here. Something that we're going to be watching very closely, Trevor. I think that's probably the one spot that we're going to be watching in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, and as we talk about high winds, Corey, a great time to talk about our free ABC 24 app. Power outages, it does not take a tornado to take your power out. So if your power typically goes out in a storm, this is one that it definitely could go out for. So now is a great time to download the ABC 24 app. It's totally free. Just search ABC 24 in your app store or in Google Play. And just wherever you're watching us right now, you can also watch us on the app. If your power goes out, you can keep on streaming us. But again, just to reset for you as we come up on midnight, the tornado warning that we originally came on for, that's going to be allowed to expire here shortly, within the next 5 minutes. It does not seem like this storm is producing a tornado anymore. So places like Leachville and Blytheville, you should be good to come out of your safe place in the next little bit. Now, winds are still bad. It's still a rough storm. It just doesn't look like it's going to keep producing a tornado, and that is good news in Blytheville and Leachville. And as we say that, a severe thunderstorm warning coming out. That's one step below a tornado warning. That's good. We'd rather take the 60-mile-an-hour winds than the winds inside of a tornado. But I do want to remind you, even though this tornado warning is going away, winds are still rough up here just to the north of Blytheville. I do want to get back to that storm near Memphis, though, because we have a couple of questions in our Facebook comments. Worst of this definitely going to be south of Tipton County. This is going to be more of a Shelby County and a DeSoto County thing, and Crittenden County as well, where these winds and the heavy rain is pretty rough. So this whole storm now pushing into Shelby County, Millington, it's literally on your doorstep. As we are speaking, it's pretty much moving into Millington right now with the heaviest of the rain. Really could be some hail back to the west and some high wind likely in there too. So I-55 near Clarkdale, maybe we could pull up that camera. I don't know if we had one in that area. That would be like between Marion and Clarkdale on I-55, one of the RDOT cameras there. But there's probably some hail mixing in there too. So we're talking about high winds, hail, and heavy rain coming into Shelby County. Cordova likely going to see wind gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour with this heavy rain that is rolling on in. All right, we've got a camera now from Clarkdale. And again, that's where the heaviest of the rain is coming in. And there you can see, that's what it looks like right now. So this is going to be what's rolling into Memphis in just moments. Millington, you're getting it now. Memphis, Cordova, Fraser, Bartlett, this is all coming to you. Lightning, heavy rain, and high wind, really the biggest concerns in here. We're going to have to watch this storm carefully as it continues to roll on through. But again, that is a live look near Clarkdale, right there on I-55, where the highest wind and the heavy rain is rolling through. As we go back to the radar, just to show you, that is that heaviest rain between Clarkdale and Marion. It's crossing 55 right now. Could be some hail in there and definitely some high wind. Corey was just talking about this moments ago, but between Earl and Marion on 64, that wind is rough. And Corey was talking about this wind is being sampled a little higher up in the clouds. So these winds are probably 2,000–3,000 feet off the ground. So they're not going to be that strong once they get to the surface. But when you see those high winds on the radar, once they get to the ground, they could still be as high as 60 or 65 miles an hour. So again, there's 64 between Earl and Marion, about to cross 55 near Clarkdale. High wind, definitely a concern. And that's what's going to be rolling into the city of Memphis in the next little bit. Let's put a storm track on this. Again, no tornado concern for Memphis right at this moment. And again, this storm really, to me,
I will say, Trevor, real quick,
yeah.
just to cut you in for a second. It does look like National Weather Service watching. You can see right here next to the radar the potential, maybe some rotation starting to form a little bit. Not enough to cause an issue with a tornado warning yet, but it looks like we're starting to see some spinning along this line as it gets close to the radar site.
Yeah, and that's something we'll keep an eye on. This storm is moving into an environment we've talked about where we can't rule out one of those quick spin-up tornadoes. But for right now, wind is definitely the biggest concern that's rolling into the Memphis Metro. Lots of comments from other folks in other parts of the area. I'm going to get to those storms in just a second. But before I go away, I do want to track this storm as it's rolling into Memphis, just to kind of give everybody a heads up. Again, this storm is producing high wind, 60 plus miles an hour, heavy rain and hail. That's going to be near West Memphis at 12:03, Bartlett and Cordova around 12:08, downtown Memphis at 12:13, Midtown Memphis at 12:22, Germantown at 12:37, South Haven at 12:47, Collierville at 12:50, and Olive Branch by 1 a.m. So high wind and heavy rain all moving through the Memphis area. And there is a little bit of rain and maybe some thunder and lightning in Tipton County up near Munford, but you're going to miss the highest of the wind. There's just a little bit of rain up there, nothing too crazy. Highest wind is just south of you, about to cross into Shelby Forest and Millington areas. Also some high wind just about to come into West Memphis. All right, we're coming up on midnight, so we're going to do a whole reset here. You're watching us on WATN and WLMT. I will tell you, folks in the back, in just a couple of minutes, we will drop off of WLMT only. We will return CW30 to your regular programming. We are going to continue our severe weather coverage on ABC 24. I'll let you know when we're ready for that sign off. The reason we're on both right now is because we did have this tornado warning that was issued for northern Mississippi County, including Blytheville. This storm has weakened quite a bit. It's not showing as significant signs of rotation as it did a bit ago. There could have been a tornado touchdown in Paragould. We have some reports of damage, but as it moved east, it kind of lost a little bit of its mojo. So there's still some wind and heavy rain in here and some thunder and lightning, 55 between Caruthersville and Blytheville. But that tornado warning is going to be allowed to be dropped in just a little bit. Winds are still pretty strong in there. We're seeing winds coming into Blytheville as high as 40, 50 miles an hour. But for right now, there is no tornado warning for Blytheville, just some plain old rain and wind. And it's kind of the same story for Dyersburg. Yeah, you've almost got two storms coming towards you. You've got some storms. Corey was talking about it earlier. These storms moving south into Dyersburg, this storm moving west. So heavy rain and wind all about to come into Dyersburg. That's why you've got that severe thunderstorm warning. Now, again, the tornado warning has been canceled. We have no active tornado warning for the Mid-South. That means what we're going to do, if you're watching us on CW30, we're going to return you to your regular programming. If you're watching us on ABC 24 or on our online streaming, we are going to continue our coverage. But for right now, we're going to return WLMT only to their regularly scheduled programming. And we continue our severe weather coverage at midnight here on ABC 24 and on ABC24.com. We're also live streaming on Facebook. I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett alongside meteorologist Corey Smith. We're going to stay with you on ABC 24 because we have some high wind and some heavy rain that is now moving into the Memphis metro area. Winds are pretty rough out here. I want to get back to the wind mode. Let's go to that camera in the vid wall. That's that Turl camera, I do believe, or Clarkdale, maybe, one of the two. But whatever that T-dot is that's at the vid wall, let's take that full. So this is Clarkdale, Arkansas on I-55. This is between West Memphis up toward Turl. This is on 55 right now. We had some high wind just seconds ago on this camera. It might have calmed down just a little bit, but I mean, the thunder and lightning is still crazy. Rain and wind is definitely coming down. I would not be surprised right now on I-55 if we had winds as high as 60 miles an hour crossing over the interstate right now. In fact, as we look at this camera, I'll keep the camera up if we could. Thank you, James, back at the back. Justin, whoever's back there. There's a lot of people working tonight. We're going to keep an eye on this wind that is rolling on in. Again, this is right over I-55, 60 to 65 miles an hour crossing I-55 near Clarkdale right now. And that is what's going to be coming in to Memphis here in the next little bit. We'll go back to the radar now. I know I'm throwing some punches at y'all back in the back. We always appreciate your hard work. Some good folks helping us out at this midnight hour on this Memorial Day Monday morning. So we appreciate their hard work overnight tonight. Wind 60 plus miles an hour over 55 right now between Marion and Clarkdale. That's crossing into Shelby County. So places like Millington, Shelby Forest, Fraser, Bartlett, Cordova. You're going to likely get some high wind and some heavy rain as well. And it's really the same thing down to the south. This line of storms continues down to the south through Crittenden County and then through St. Francis County along I-40 and I-55. And that whole storm is now crossing into Memphis and into Shelby County again with the highest wind as high as 60 miles an hour. So I do want to remind you, charge your cell phones. And it's a great time to download our app. Again, it is totally free. Just search ABC24 in your App Store and Google Play. And you can watch our live stream there as we continue to track these storms. You know, power will go out if we get a good wind gust and some power lines down. So just watch out for that. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning that's going to come out. This is going to be for southern Shelby County. So as we go back to our warnings, right now northern Shelby County is in that severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to be for wind and hail. They're about to issue a new thunderstorm warning for southern Shelby County, and that one is likely going to go probably, if I had to bet, until 1 a.m. Because of the wind threat. Now, this storm, once it gets to you, it's not going to last that long. There might be 45 minutes to an hour of heavy rain and some wind, and then it will clear out. Once that line of storms passes you, you're done. And Memorial Day weather looks great. As soon as we can clear this out of the Mid-South, the rest of your Monday will be pretty good. But we're going to stay with you because, like we said, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. We've had one for northern Shelby County. We're going to have a new one for Memphis and the rest of Shelby County that's likely going to go until 1 a.m. So again, high wind, heavy rain, all moving through Memphis right now. I think right now my biggest concern is this high wind. We are still seeing this wind light up near Clarkdale, Arkansas. Winds in here as high as 60 to 70 miles an hour. That's crossing the river right now. And I know it's not labeled, but Shelby Forest is about right here. So we're talking up Highway 51. There's Fight Road, Woodstock, Cuba Road, and then Millington not too far away from here. So Millington is going to be there. There's Veterans Parkway. So it's that little cluster where we have the highest wind crossing 55, and then that's going to be into Shelby County. So a heads up in Memphis and Shelby County, high winds 50 to 60 miles an hour. They're going to be rolling through in the next little bit. Again, I think right now I was looking, Corey mentioned the National Weather Service might have been looking at some little sign of maybe a little bit of rotation up near Millington. It continues to look to me like mainly a wind threat, and the Weather Service hasn't said anything else about it, which means it doesn't look as impressive. What you're looking at here is the storm wind. So the different colors tell you what direction it's going. Well, a tornado is spinning, right? So you've got winds going in multiple directions. So to get a tornado, you need green and red, two different directions of wind right next to each other. Notice how all of this is green, just about. That means all the wind is coming in one direction. So tornado, not really a big concern for me right now in Shelby County. I think what this is going to be is a lot more of a damaging wind threat. But again, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts can do just as much damage as a tornado if you're not careful, especially with power outages and trees coming down. So there's our new severe thunderstorm warning. Just told you that was going to be issued. That's for southern Crittenden, DeSoto, Shelby, and a little chunk of Fayette County. And that one is going to go until, let's see, 12:45. So we're going to be on until at least 12:45. All of Shelby County now under a severe thunderstorm warning due to the threat of wind and hail. Might be some small hail mixed in, but like we were talking about, that wind is still going to be much bigger of a concern. We'll zoom back in and just query a little bit of that up near Clarkdale. Winds as high as 60 miles an hour. Crawfordsville, same thing, close to 50 or 60. And then back toward Earl and Parkin, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. That's all about to cross the Mississippi River, West Memphis, Marion, into Memphis. Heads up, you're going to be getting in on all of this in the next little bit. We'll put another storm track on this storm, and then we'll check in with meteorologist Corey Smith because there are more storms off to the north. But I want to track this one coming through Shelby County quickly, right over Millington right now, and it's going to continue to move to the southeast. Downtown at 12:13. Now might be a good time if we could pick out like that T-dot in downtown, like at I-40 in Riverside that has the bridge on it that we always show. That would probably be a great shot right now. 12:21 into Midtown. Fisherville at 12:29, Germantown at 12:34, South Haven at 12:41, Collierville at 12:46, Hernando at 1 a.m., Byhalia at 1:11. Again, this is a storm producing damaging wind gusts and heavy rain that is rolling into Memphis right now. No tornado warnings in effect. We do have a tornado watch until 5 a.m., but there are no active tornado warnings. But still, the threat of high wind could definitely pose some concerns there as this storm is rolling on in. All right, Corey, we've got some more storms up to the north near Dyersburg, and obviously this storm rolling through Memphis. What are you seeing on your end?
Yeah, the storms up north, thankfully on a weakening trend from that tornado warning that we were seeing earlier, but now still that severe thunderstorm warning for the potential of some strong winds. That's going to include Dyer and Mississippi counties, at least in our viewing area, until 12:45 a.m. And this is the potential for at least those straight line winds, which can still cause just as much damage as any weak tornado. So something we're going to continue to watch here. I'll go ahead and zoom in and take a look. If you're in Dyersburg right now, you're probably hearing some thunder, some lightning, and seeing some windy conditions out there. This is a lot less electric than that line that we're seeing that's pushing into Shelby County, I will say, which is an indication that we're maybe not seeing winds quite as strong. And let me go ahead and I'll switch us over to wind, and you'll see that we're not seeing any bright colors. So directly over Dyersburg, if we go ahead and sample some of these winds, what we're seeing over that community right now, it's probably in the order of 20 to 25 miles per hour. So a good indication that we're not probably seeing the extreme wind threat that we're potentially seeing. Yes.
Hate to interrupt you. Can we take that I-40 in Riverside, Cam? Because this will go along with what you're talking about.
Yes.
That high wind is coming into Memphis right now.
Yeah, so if we go ahead and take a look at that camera, you can see it just absolutely shaking here. So these are those strong winds that we're talking about in that southern line that we probably aren't seeing in that northern line moving through. And this is just moving through right now as we speak into downtown Memphis. So the potential, some power outages. Guys, if we can take real quick to Weather 4. I want to show that just for a second. If we can pull up the Weather 4 computer. These are power outages right now here in the Mid-South. Low. We're not seeing any high numbers, but these storms now pushing into Shelby County, Memphis itself. We could see these power outages start to go up. So if, in fact, you can see some counties being shaded in yellow now, the indication that we are seeing those increase. So if you are watching us right now, make sure your devices are charged, have another way to get warnings, and to be able to watch us here, you can download the ABC24 app on your phone and watch that in case your power does go out here within the next few hours. But if we take the radar back, guys, here on Weather 1, we'll show you what's going on up towards the north currently. Nothing that's a good sign to me of seeing those stronger winds that we're seeing with that southern system, which is great news. We want to see things like that because, especially with this type of environment, if we can underperform in some of these storms, that's definitely something that we want. Now, I will say that there is two different directions that we're watching these storms move through. I'm going to switch us back over to the radar, and I'm going to loop this here so you can see what's going on up in the northern portion of our viewing area. You can see that these storms are moving a little bit more towards the south compared to our storms down moving into Memphis are moving more towards the east. So this eventually could impact Crockett County up towards Lauderdale and even Haywood counties, at least this part of the line. If you're not seeing any rain yet, this is what we're watching for you. If we move back down south, though, I want to at least show some of the winds. We were showing that camera moving through downtown Memphis. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those winds that we're sampling right now just over the city, because that's looking pretty impressive, at least on that Riverside Drive camera. Right now we're seeing, and it looks like we're looking up the radial there, so let me go ahead, and it might be hard to actually try for us to see because we're looking up the radial of the of the radar there. So let me go ahead. I'm actually going to sample some of these winds east of Millington because they're probably very similar to what we're seeing in downtown Memphis. And you can see these bright reds near Rosemark and Bolton, Brunswick on the very bottom of your screen here. Millington is just off towards the left here, just above the screen, above me right here. So let's go ahead and sample some of these winds because they're starting to look pretty serious, moving towards Arlington, 50 to 60 miles per hour winds. And this is a very low scan, so we're very likely seeing this wind on the ground moving towards Arlington right now in Galloway. Trevor, this is probably going to be the most concerning part of this storm. And thankfully, like we said, not a ton in the way of power outages yet, but with this type of wind now pushing through Memphis and Shelby County, I'm not going to be shocked if we see those numbers go up.
Well, as you say that, Corey, we're getting a report from one of our partners. Fire crews in Millington responding to a transformer fire near Wilkinsville and Easley Road. So we were just talking about those winds, 50 to 60 miles an hour east of Millington. That just came through Millington a bit ago. And now a transformer fire, which if a transformer is on fire, your power's out. I hate to tell you that, but that is how that works. So we'll probably see those power outages coming up. We'll check in with that MLGW power outage map in the next little bit. But what Corey was saying, where we saw those winds on the radar of 50 to 60 miles an hour, it's this whole line of storms that's producing the same wind that's rolling through. So Arlington, Lakeland, Bartlett, Cordova, Memphis proper, the airport, Whitehaven, you're going to be next in line in the next 5 or 10 minutes. We are going to be seeing those same winds 50 to 60 miles an hour roll through. I'm going to put another track on this, but pretty much if you're in Shelby or DeSoto County, this storm is going to impact you with those high winds. So again, Memphis, that's Midtown Memphis by about 12:19, Lakeland at 12:13, Fisherville at 12:25, Germantown at 12:30, South Haven at 12:37, Olive Branch at 12:45, Moscow and Fayette County by 12:49, Hernando at 12:54, Byhalia at 1:02. So over about the next 45 minutes, we are going to be seeing high wind and heavy rain roll through Memphis. Let's go back to that I-40 and Riverside camera. Just to give you an idea of what's going to happen here, what we're looking at is in downtown Memphis. Normally, on a good day, you'd be able to see the bridge off in the distance. You can see some of the lights kind of glistening in the distance. But as this is rolling through, high wind going to be the issue. You see the camera bouncing a little bit there with those winds, probably at least 40 to 50 miles an hour rolling into Memphis. A little wet on the 55 bridge as well. We're seeing some lightning over there. This camera a little more sturdy on the 55 bridge, so you don't see it shaking as much, but you can see it bouncing just a little bit at least. Brittany reports some pretty rough wind near the Atoka and Rosemark area, and I believe it. Everybody's going to be seeing this wind. We're starting to hear our building creak a little bit here on Sycamore View, and that's usually the first sign of those storms rolling on in. I know we got a lot of colors on the screen. What I want you to pay attention to is not so much the color. I want you to notice how bright the colors are. So notice we've got some bright pinks over here and some bright greens. That's where the strongest wind is. So the brighter these colors in here, the stronger the winds are going to be. And Brittany on Facebook was just mentioning those high winds near Atoka and Rosemark. So there's Rosemark, and Atoka's just literally right below the banner. There you go. You see it just a little bit better. Where these brighter pinks are, Arlington, man, you have 10 seconds and you're about to get really bad wind. Lakeland, it's the same thing. These winds in here are really bad. It seems like they might have even intensified a bit as they've crossed past Millington. 60+ mile an hour winds, Arlington, Lakeland, eventually up toward Galloway on I-40. There's Mason, Stanton, Tennessee is up here, and out toward Lambert in Fayette County. So Arlington, right now, those highest winds are coming into your area, and then just to the east of Arlington, it's going to be the same thing for you. Moving down to the south, it's the same thing back in Arkansas as these storms are still rolling in. Back near Proctor, Arkansas, near West Memphis, even Earl still seeing winds as high as 50 miles an hour. So the bottom line is, as we poke around all in the storm, pretty much everybody within the storm is seeing winds easily of 50 to 60 miles an hour. It does look to me like the worst of the wind now is on that leading edge that's coming into Arlington. So Mason, Stanton, Lambert, even towards Somerville. Those are where probably the worst of the winds are. I'm going to track just this section. Again, this to me seems like some of the highest wind right now. Lakeland pretty much right now. Galloway at 1220, Braden at 1223, Hickory Wythe at 1228, Oakland at 1237, Warren at 1241, and Powers at 1244. That's near Somerville. So Somerville's just going to be a couple of minutes later than that. But again, very, very high wind, up to 60 miles an hour rolling through. And again, Ashley also reporting that bad wind in Millington. I'll tell you, if you're in Millington, the worst is past you. I know it's still coming down like cats and dogs, but the highest wind has now come through Millington, and we'll start to see that taper off in the next little bit. Highest wind now near Fraser, Bartlett, Raleigh. We're going to be hearing it at our TV station on Sycamore View within just a matter of seconds. I can guarantee you. We'll hope our power stays on. And moving down to the south. So even if you're in Cordova, Germantown, Collierville, Airport area, Hickory Hill, even Whitehaven, expect 50 to 60 mile an hour winds just within the next little bit as this storm is moving down toward the south. Just to zoom out and reset for everybody, I don't want anybody to think we're forgetting about you. We kind of have this batch of scattered storms passing through the Mid-South. Got a pretty heavy storm up near Crockett County. Alamo probably seeing some high wind and hail right now. Blytheville, same thing. High wind and heavy rain, maybe a little bit of small hail for them. But again, the highest wind is pretty much right in the Memphis Metro area. Corey, I think you would agree with that. What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, and that really looks to be probably the worst. I want to get us back up here to Blytheville because we do have that severe thunderstorm warning. National Weather Service saying they're probably not too gung-ho about this being probably on the severe side anymore. Actually got a report in from the ground of only a 47-mile-per-hour gust. So it does look like that line that is pushing through the Memphis Metro. I just want to zoom back out and go back to that is really going to be our primary thing that we're focusing on going forward because it looks like at least that other warning, not really what we're watching. And like Trevor said, going to rain here at the station any moment. We're starting to hear that pick up. So starting to move now towards the eastern portion, towards 240 here on the east side of the city, and going to continue to work out towards the southeast. I'm going to switch us back over to wind because we know there's heavy rain, we know there's lightning with this, but we need to look at the wind because that's where really why we have these severe thunderstorm warnings out. It doesn't even look like we have much in the way of any sizable hail in this line, which is great news, and it doesn't look like we have any rotation either. But we do have some very strong winds. What the National Weather Service does say that they're probably going to extend the severe thunderstorm warning past Shelby County here, out into Fayette County, and you can see why. We're seeing that wind, that pink, start to go past the box here in the Galloway, moving through Arlington right now. You're probably seeing some pretty heavy wind. Galloway is just getting it. Longtown and Lambert are going to be getting in. So let's sample some of that wind. We've been talking about it, 50, 60 plus miles per hour, and right now it looks like more of the same really along this entire line, just east of Lakeland. Once you get near 40, just east of there, 40 to 50 to 60 miles per hour with this leading edge of the storm. And the reason why we're seeing this end up being probably the strongest part of the storm is there's nothing ahead of it really hampering it from being weaker. There's a lot of energy, a lot of untapped air in front of this part of the storm. And that's why we're seeing these gusty winds. And we're very likely going to be seeing this extended here within the next couple of minutes. So we'll make sure to put a track on that once we get that warning. But I want to shift us south once again because we are looking at Memphis. It looks like at least the heaviest of the winds, Trevor, now getting ready to clear pretty much the 40-240 belt line here. So everything inside of there, the worst of the wind will be pretty soon clearing. That doesn't mean you're done with the storm. We're going to have heavy rain. We're going to have gusty winds. But that leading edge, which is where we see the strongest winds, I'm going to drive right here in Cordova, just about to reach Whitehaven and Germantown, is going to be where we're going to see our strongest axis of wind with this storm. And it looks like it is progressing at least through a good portion of Memphis now, Trevor. Definitely some good news. We're starting to work through the Mid-South, and hopefully here, I think within the next 45 minutes to an hour, we can start clearing some of these counties out west as this line continues to progress.
Yeah, hopefully. We want to roll this out of here as quick as we can. At least for the next little bit, we're going to have some high wind and heavy rain. I wanted to take you out to Fayette County. This is I-40 at State Route 196. So we're headed out toward Mason and Stanton on I-40. We had some really rough wind here just about 15 or 20 seconds ago, not too long ago. Very high wind was bouncing the camera. You could see it blowing across the road. It's calmed down just a little bit, and that's really what's going to happen. It's that first hit of the storm. Once the storm hits you, the wind is really rough. And then once the rain picks up, that wind tends to calm down just a little bit. Going back to our radar, though, and I do want to show you these storms rolling through Memphis. Again, high wind, the biggest concern with these. They're producing winds easily through Memphis as high as 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour. It seems like to me the highest winds right now east of Arlington. This is crossing right into Fayette County. So there's Highway 70. Arlington going up toward Mason is pretty much right there. That wind is really strong. So Longtown, along Interstate 40, even towards Somerville and Oakland in the next little bit is going to be seeing that strong wind. I want to just do a storm track on just this high wind just to get an idea of where the highest is going to be because it is now moving into Fayette County and they've extended that severe thunderstorm warning. But again, the wind, the strongest right on the leading edge of that storm. It's coming into places like Cordova and Germantown in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So Germantown by 12:31, Collierville at 12:43, Piperton at 12:47, Rossville at 12:51, Whiteville at 12:54, Bolivar at 1:08. This is where we're seeing winds up to 60 miles an hour rolling into Memphis over the next little bit. There's also some pretty high wind down in the southern portion of Shelby County. We'll go back to the radar mode and show you some of that. Back in Crockett County, winds are a little bit rough for you as well. West Memphis, Marion, Proctor, all the way through Crittenden County. Maybe not as strong as they are in Arlington, but the winds are still pretty rough out there. Again, strongest wind is near Arlington. It's coming into Fayette County. If you're just joining us, by the way, I'm sure a lot of this thunder and lightning is waking some folks up in Memphis. We don't have any tornado warnings in effect. None of this is a tornado concern right now. It really looks more like a high wind threat. We've seen wind gusts as high as 60 miles an hour up in northern Shelby County. These storms now coming into the rest of Shelby County in the next few moments. So the airport area, Cordova, Germantown, and Collierville, your winds will pick up soon, and the rain is going to pick up pretty soon as well. So that whole batch of storms moving through Memphis right now, it is moving pretty quickly. So once it hits your neighborhood, give it maybe 45 minutes to an hour and the rain will calm down. And then really once this line of storms passes, a lot of it is going to be wrapped up for you. Now this line still has to get through most of western Tennessee and a good chunk of northern Mississippi. But we are still seeing winds in here that are pretty high. So even as it clears out of Memphis, we'll still be watching it for western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. I know it's dry right now in Mississippi, but these storms will be moving into your area and could be producing some high wind for you as well. Now, we were watching a storm up in Crockett County. I wanted to zoom back in on that just for a little bit because it is also packing a punch. Heavy rain, high wind, some thunder and lightning near Alamo right now. You've got 4112 that comes through there, 45 up just north of Jackson. High wind, heavy rain, a concern there. This was a storm that the National Weather Service was saying might have had a little bit of rotation a moment or two ago. And I see where they were talking about. This was at 12:17. So this was almost 10 minutes ago. There was a little bit of an area here east of Alamo along 79 coming into Humboldt where there might have been a little bit of rotation in the clouds. But as we are moving that forward, it looks like it kind of fell apart. So that is some good news for sure. It's mainly just heavy rain and high wind in Crockett County. But the worst of that storm even has passed out now. And it's moving off to the northeast into Gibson County. Corey, got some reports of power outages coming in. We've got trees coming down. Some power lines coming down. What's the latest over there? Yeah, and I'm going to ask real quick if our producer can pull up, our director, I should say, can pull up the MLGW outage map so we can start getting some numbers in from there. But I will say, okay, there we go. Can you read off to me how much
we have currently? So we have 43 confirmed outages right now on MLGW. So more than 7,700 customers are affected right now on this map. So we're watching that number go up, Trevor, and that's not surprising. 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, of course, in the Memphis Metro is going to do that. So if we switch over to Weather 4, we can take a look outside of the Memphis Metro and take a look at some of those outages. Nothing too impressive right here. Points at right around 100 outages, DeSoto 100 as well. So we'll watch to see if those numbers start to increase as this continues to work off towards the east, but places west of the Mississippi River probably done with losing more power at this point. We're seeing that heavier wind moving off towards the east. I do want to say, if we can switch back over to the radar, we're still seeing some very impressive wind, and I'm going to put a track on this because this is really the one part of the, I'll actually put on the whole line here just to get everyone in. We'll go ahead and put this is moving right to the east, right around 45 miles per hour. So I'll get the right speed on here, but we are seeing essentially this leading edge of this line moving off towards the east-southeast, and this is where we have these warnings for I'm going to put it out about 45 minutes. So these are communities within 45 minutes. Germantown, you're pretty much seeing these winds right now. South Haven, 1235. Collierville, 1239. Olive Branch, you're going to be seeing these winds moving in around 1243. Pattersonville, right around 1251. Byhalia, right around 1 o'clock in the morning. Bolivar, 1:05 a.m. and Salisbury right around 1:11 a.m. So we still have a way to go. Like we said earlier on today, if you're watching, this threat probably lasting between 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. So we have probably another 1 to 2 hours left to go before we start to see things start to wind down here in the Mid-South. Now, I will say that we did just get the cancellation of the tornado watch for Poinsett County, Arkansas. So this is the first county that we have in our viewing area that's been canceled on a watch here, and I'll go ahead and switch that over so we can take a look at that. That looks to be expiring here in just a little bit, so let me see what time they're actually going to cancel that for. It looks like potentially it's going to update here soon, but looks like they're starting to eat away at this, and there you go, it's updated now. So we are seeing that Poinsett is no longer underneath that tornado watch. That means conditions not conducive for tornadic activity. So this is great news, Trevor. Once we start seeing the National Weather Service starting to cut away at these watches, that means that we're seeing the end in sight, at least for portions of the viewing area. We've been tracking, and I'll switch us back over to the radar, this line continuing now to slide east into the eastern portion of the Memphis Metro here. And this is what we're going to be watching primarily, but it looks like some good news on the horizon. We're starting to see the end of things, at least out west.
Yeah, and Corey, you're exactly right. It's going to be kind of a slow march of these storms as they exit, but they are pushing out. They got a little motion on them, so once they move through your neighborhood, give it an hour, those storms will pass on out. Now, I do want to let you know if you have the storms that have moved through your neighborhood and maybe you have a little damage, some limbs blown around, or maybe your power's out, we'd love to hear your photos or your reports. If you're watching us on TV, you can scan that code. Open up your phone's camera and scan that code on your screen. That's going to take you to our ABC 24 Weather Watchers Facebook group. If you're on your phone, just search ABC 24 Weather Watchers. You'll find our group there. And if you can do so safely, let us know what's happening in your neighborhood. You can also send us photos or videos. Again, we only want you to do this if you can do it safely. I don't want you out in the middle of the storm trying to get pictures of lightning. But once the storm passes your neighborhood, if you see some limbs down or a tree down or your power's out, scan that QR code with your phone's camera and let us know what has happened. If it's a little easier for you, you could also text us. We have a number, 901-321-7520. You can text us photos, videos, and reports there. But again, I don't want you doing this while the storm is happening. Let the storm blow by, and then once it passes you, if you see a little damage, you can let us know there. Please do not get out of the middle of the lightning. I'm telling y'all, I do not want to be responsible for that. I know we're all in the South. We like watching the storms, but hang out inside. These storms are pretty windy out there. As we recap what's going on here, storms rolling through the Memphis Metro now. Biggest concern with this is the wind. No tornado concern right now. We don't have any tornado warnings in effect. There is a tornado watch. until 5 a.m. That means there could be a tornado, but really I think we're transitioning now to mainly a high wind concern, and the highest of the wind is coming into Fayette County right now. Now it's past Millington, but coming into Lambert, Oakland, Somerville in the next little bit. We have winds in here as high as 50 or 60 miles an hour. So there's Oakland on 64 coming into Somerville. I-40 is up here going into Haywood County up toward Cocoa and Christmasville. So in those areas, winds are going to be a little bit stronger. So a heads up to Somerville and Fayette County, right along 64 and north of that especially. Winds are rough in there in Fayette County. Not as bad in Shelby County now. The worst of the wind seems to be off to our east, but still some very heavy rain and some gusty wind. Wouldn't be surprised to see winds in there as high as 40 to 50 miles an hour in Shelby County, and just a ton of lightning. 200 strikes of lightning. That's just in the last 15 minutes. A lot of that almost on the back side of the storm. So somebody mentioned some loud thunder in Millington. Even though the storm has passed you now, there's still plenty of loud thunder out there. Again, Millington, the worst is past you. No more rain, no more wind. Some light showers going to continue, but the heaviest is now out of Millington and just left with some thunder and lightning now. Brownsville, Crockett County, you're getting it pretty rough too. We don't have any warnings up here, but east of Brownsville on 40 and over Crockett County, just a ton of thunder and lightning in there. And it's really the same for Dyersburg as well. High wind, heavy rain, thunder and lightning right over Dyer County. No warnings up there, but there is definitely some heavy rain and high wind rolling on through. So that was kind of a tour of the radar. What I want to do now is just zoom all the way back out and do a reset for what is going on. North Mississippi, I know it is still quiet for you, but that line of storms is going to continue to roll south. And over the next few hours, between now and 3 a.m., you'll see some heavy rain, you'll see some gusty wind as that line passes through. Really, once this line passes you, you're kind of done for the rest of the night. So there could be a couple of showers up in northeast Arkansas. There's rain and wind in Dyersburg. Once that passes you, we're going to be in pretty good shape. So again, we have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. Those are in effect for Crittenden, Shelby, DeSoto, Fayette County, parts of Tipton County, part of Hardman and Haywood County as well. That's in effect for the winds up to 60 miles an hour. But again, even though there we're seeing winds pretty high, we don't have a tornado concern at this moment, which is good. But we've been stressing to you, winds are going to be high as well. Could be this storm back here. It could be our next strong one we watch. This one doesn't have a severe thunderstorm warning on it yet, but between Forest City and Marianna on Highway 1, winds are picking up a little bit in here too, and those winds could be as high in there as 50 to 60 miles an hour coming into Marianna. So just a heads up for you there in Marianna, winds picking up a little bit, and it's that part that's probably going to be a little closer to Tunica County in about the next hour to hour and a half. So everybody is going to see a storm pretty much. It's just a matter of when it's going to get to you. And man, that wind in Fayette County is really rough. That is probably the worst of it right now, just to the north of Somerville. I want to get really down here into street level and show you here. This is Lambert Drive, Warren Road, right along 59, where 59 and 76 split north of Somerville. So there's Somerville right now. Winds with every update continue to pick up. Now we're seeing winds 60 to 70. So Somerville up 76. If you're north of Somerville on Highway 76, north of 64 in Fayette County, really high wind, just about to cross 76 and 59 near Mormon. And again, Somerville is just down to the south. So that's your heads up there in Fayette County. Winds are rough as they are coming in there. And that's why that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. That line entirely moving toward the east. You see how it's been moving over the last couple of hours. That's going to be more of an issue for Bolivar too. So you've got about an hour's worth of heads up in Bolivar for winds up to 50 or 60 miles an hour. Here back at home in Memphis, we've got heavy rain, thunder, lightning rolling right through the center of town from President's Island through the 240 loop, up I-40 into northeast Memphis. Heavy rain, winds in here 50 to 60 miles an hour. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning because of how high the winds are. And that is now pushing into DeSoto County. So it's been dry for you in DeSoto, but Horn Lake, Walls, South Haven, Olive Branch, you're going to be picking up on some of those winds as well. Over the next little bit, this all is going to continue to move off to the south and east, and we'll see those wind threats and the heavy rain continue. So North Mississippi, just a heads up for you. You're going to be seeing it here over the next little bit. All right, meteorologist Corey Smith, you're here too. Corey, I know we're talking all about the wind. What are you seeing on your end?
Yeah, I want to talk about power outages real quick. So if we can pull up the MLGW outage map again on our screen, I want to show you guys where we're seeing the most outages here in the Memphis area. It's actually right near the medical district and then points south. So South Memphis into the medical district, just east of downtown, where we're seeing the majority of those outages currently here in the Mid-South, or I should say in the Memphis area. We're right around 7,000 customers affected without power right now. So that has climbed since the last time that we talked. And it looks like potentially, if this is what it's peaked at, that part of the city, thankfully nothing too much higher, but we'll watch for more outages on the eastern side of Memphis here as this line continues to work through. I will say across the rest of the viewing area, we're not seeing any counties that have a huge amount of outages, which is definitely a great sign there. I do want to switch us back over to the radar here, and we're going to take a look at this wind that's been pushing just north of Somerville, because that is probably the one spot right now that we're watching for that's going to be seeing at least the potential for some damage. You can see right there State Road 59, and then we have US 64 that runs, of course, through Somerville. It's going to be just north of that. Mormon just to the north, Warren to the west, and Laconia out towards the east. I'm going to sample this just a couple times because this is where we're seeing potentially some of the strongest winds, 60 to 70 miles per hour on the radar. Now we're looking a little bit higher up on the scan, so very likely that we're still seeing 50 to 60, 65 mile per hour winds at the surface, enough to cause damage. And this is really, I think, the focal point of where we're seeing some of that strong wind. If I actually go back a little bit here, this has been the one part of the storm that has pushed out towards the east, towards since Millington, really. Notice those pinks continuing to move out towards the east here. So this is the one part of the storm that's been consistent and has consistently put wind down on this storm. I will say, other than that, though, we're looking at really the bottom half, the southern half of the line, at least acting together right now, which is great news. As this works into North Mississippi, this is an area that we haven't talked too much about, so I want to put a track on this just to show you guys what we're looking at timing-wise for some of you that aren't under those warnings right now, especially in northern Mississippi, where we could see these storms eventually make it towards your way. So I'm going to put a track on this, and we'll go down to the south, and let me go ahead and redraw this so that we are able to look at really North Mississippi. I want to get some of that in, since we've been focusing a lot here on, of course, West Tennessee and really Arkansas. So we're going to draw that track here, and I'm going to really draw it for the southern half of this line and put it down towards the south here, just south of DeSoto County. So South Haven, 1246, Olive Branch, 1252, Hernando, 1257 a.m. So that puts us about 17 minutes from now. North Tunica, 102 a.m. Helena, West Helena, right around 1:15 a.m. potentially, and Holly Springs around 1:23. So this still has a ways to go, potentially another, I would say, 30 minutes to an hour before we start to work south of really the loop here, and then start to make it out of really the Tennessee state line. So we have probably another 2 hours to go until we can clear, 2 to 3 hours until we can clear the Mid-South. That's what we're looking at right now. I will say the one part of the storm that still is concerning is going to be this eastern portion that's moving from Fayette into Hardman County. That's really going to be the strongest part of this storm. Bolivar, you need to be aware that you got some pretty distinct winds moving towards you currently. We'll put a track on that as well and track this because this is moving more towards the east than the southeast. So I'll track this out towards McNairy County, Bolivar right around 1 o'clock in the morning. So that puts it at about another 20-ish minutes from now where we can start to see these winds moving in. Bethel Springs around 129, Selmer 134. in the morning. So this is going to continue for a while, guys. If you're just tuning in, if you're just waking up, especially outside the Memphis Metro, we're watching these severe thunderstorms move through. We are not really looking for the potential of tornadoes at this time. We do have a tornado watch out, and I'll switch us over to that. The yellow shading here on your screen is a tornado watch out for a good portion of the Mid-South, almost the entire Mid-South, until 5 a.m. because the conditions are there for tornadic storms, but the way things have evolved right now has led us more towards a wind threat, and even hail doesn't look to be much of an issue now. We were talking about hail out near Earl and wind earlier on at the very beginning of this entire event, but now we're not really talking about that. It's just more of a wind event, which makes it a little bit easier to tell you guys what to expect out there when we're only talking about one type of severe weather as we go forward. I do want to reset us here. It's getting around 12:45 in the morning, and I want to talk about this northern part of the line too, because we were focusing on this earlier on as well, the potential of tornadic weather pushing out towards Dyer County and never really got there, and thankfully cut off by this other part of the line that is now pushing down towards the south, out towards West Tennessee. So it looks like right now, if you're in Dyer County, we're kind of ending things up a little bit right here. We're not going to be looking at much more after this line continues to work off towards the east. It's really going to be these two severe thunderstorm warnings that continue for the Memphis Metro and pushing out east towards Hardman and McNairy counties over the next little bit. I will say the National Weather Service saying exactly what we've been talking about here. That cell heading right into Whiteville looks to be the strongest storm that we have right now out of this entire line, Trevor.
Yeah, I agree, Corey, and that wind is rough. I did want to show you one of our ABC 24 weather watchers showed us some of that hail that came in, about penny-sized hail. This was near Marion, between Marion and West Memphis, right about midnight. So that is some of the hail that we saw. We expected some hail over there, and it looks like we did have some fall. Now, to me right now, the hail potential, not quite as high as it was when this happened. Now it looks to be more of a wind thing, and that's what Corey was just kind of talking about. I want to kind of go down this whole line and just kind of show you what's going on, because we have some heavy rain and wind near Brownsville and I-40, and that right now is not severe, but it is heavy and it is strong coming into Jackson, Tennessee. Checking in with Fayette County, we've got this leading edge of these winds near Summerville, now coming into Fayette Corners. And it's that leading edge we're going to have to watch a little more carefully, because I don't want you to forget we are still in a tornado watch. Now, right now, there is not any tornado warnings in effect, but right on that leading edge of that storm, I would not be surprised if we saw a quick tornado try to spin up. That would be east of Summerville, coming into Hardman County and Bolivar in the next little bit. So just a heads up for you, no tornado warning right now, but there could be a little bit of rotation out there along with the high winds. Checking in with these winds in Fayette County, it is rough out here, especially near Summerville and Fayette Corners. Just to give you a little bit of an estimate, we have winds estimated as high as possibly 70 miles an hour in here. That's right along Highway 64, moving east toward Bolivar and Tune in northern Hardman County. So Summerville, you're getting the worst wind now. It's going to continue east, Fayette Corners, Highway 64, Bolivar, you're going to be next up. Now, for just a second, because the Weather Service did mention that potential of maybe a little bit of rotation in here, I just want to kind of check out what they were looking at. And right now, to me, it looks like it's mainly wind. It's bad wind, but it can still do some damage. I mean, that's Highway 64 there. We're coming up on Whiteville now. You've got Union Springs Road is right there. Armour Drive, 64 east of Summerville, coming into Whiteville, Tennessee. So that is where we're going to see winds over 60 miles an hour, which can do some damage. Regardless of if there's a tornado or not, winds are really high in here. So I want to give you that heads up for Whiteville, Tennessee, just to give you that heads up, because the wind, it is rough in there. And it's the same story down to the south. Heavy rain and wind continuing through most of Fayette County, Shelby County, Cordova, Germantown. You're in the thick of it right now with the high winds and the heavy rain. I will let you know that technically right now, There is not a severe thunderstorm warning for Shelby County. They've dropped the severe thunderstorm warning for Shelby County. The winds are not as strong as they were a while ago. We're still seeing high wind. We're still seeing heavy rain, but wind gusts are not to severe limits. Just so you know, severe weather technically is 58 miles an hour. So the winds have to be at least 58 miles an hour for it to be considered severe. Now, if you get a 45 mile an hour wind gust, you could still see things blowing around a little bit. It does not take 58 miles an hour exactly. So even though we do not have a severe thunderstorm warning for Shelby County anymore, the rain and the wind is still pretty rough. Again, that's coming into DeSoto County in the next little bit, and a very strong storm now developing north of Marianna, Arkansas, right there along Highway 1. We talked about this storm a bit ago between Forest City and Marianna, right on Highway 1. Those winds have picked up a lot, and I just want to kind of estimate those. And there might be a little bit of rotation popping up out there. So we don't have any warnings in effect. But we talked earlier about the greens and the reds together. We're seeing a little bit of that right now. There's Marianna, Arkansas. Highway 79 is there. Highway 1 is here. This is going to cross Highway 1 between Marianna and Forest City. So again, no tornado warning right now. But I want to give you as early of a heads up as I possibly can. If you live in Lee County, Arkansas, or in St. Francis County, Arkansas, there's a little bit of something funky back there. So I'm going to watch that really carefully. That area right there could be a little bit of rotation, and that's kind of the precursor to a tornado. So between Marianna and Forest City, if you're out here, just keep an extra eye on the weather. Don't go to sleep just yet if you live out here in Lee County or St. Francis County, Corey.
Yeah, and I will say there's a new area of potential for rotation. So we're not seeing rotation yet, but the National Weather Service actually putting a tornado possible tag. So essentially the conditions there for a tornado just south of Hillville and east of Cedar Chapel. Hatchie is going to be just east of this. Notice this is what we call a notch, essentially. And I'll zoom out essentially to show you guys where we are. This is going to be just north of Hardman County here, where we're seeing this notch, and this is an indication that we could see this thing try to start to rotate. If we switch over to velocity, we're not seeing that quite yet, but this is the first time that we're seeing this type of signature on these storms, and thankfully it is moving potentially outside of our viewing area very quickly. But I wanted to at least point that out for a second here, because this looks like potentially an area where we could be seeing a rotation, and if we did, it'd be a very quick spin up in nature, given that it's on this line here. But I will say that the storms have been acting pretty nicely, at least rotation-wise, Trevor. We're not seeing any tornado warnings outside of those two that we saw back just about like 2 to 3 hours ago.
Yeah, that's right, Corey. We did have a couple of tornado warnings a bit ago up in northern Mississippi County. Right now, we're not seeing any tornado warnings, but we are still in an environment where we could have one try to spin up. So that's what we're going to be watching here for the next little bit. It's those storms over there in Hardman County. So Hardman County, you're next up for the high wind. Bolivar, Tune, along 64. Winds up there are going to be as high as 60 miles an hour. So if you're in Hardman County, there's your heads up. Those winds are picking up. Heavy rain and wind continue in Memphis. We don't have a severe thunderstorm warning for Memphis or DeSoto County anymore, but still some heavy rain and wind. I'm still watching this storm back here. That one has really piqued my interest in the last little bit. Just north of Marianna, rotation maybe not as strong as it was, but there are still some signs in there that things might be trying to spin just a little bit. North on 121 going up to 261. That's at the Lee and St. Francis County line between Marianna and Forest City on Highway 1. So just that heads up. We're still watching that. If you live near Haines, Dansby, in southern St. Francis County, just stick with me for a little bit longer. I want to make sure that this storm doesn't try to act up anymore. Wind, though, is still a concern, regardless of if there is a tornado or not. And I don't think there is one in Fayette County. The wind is just awful right now, as high as 60 or 70 miles an hour could be coming into Bolivar. So Bolivar, Hickory Valley, that's your heads up for the wind. I'm going to put a track on this with the wind as it's rolling in, just give you an idea of when it's going to be in your neighborhood. This thing moving pretty quickly, 30, 40 miles an hour. We're going to time this out here as it moves through the rest of our area. Bolivar at 101, so about 10 minutes from now, Bolivar, you're going to get a wind gust of about 60 miles an hour. Hornsby at 118, Henderson at 127, Bethel Springs at 135, Selmer at 142, Morris Chapel at 152, and then Savannah by 207. So then it's going to be out of the Mid-South and moving off toward the east. But over the next couple of hours, especially Hardman and McNairy counties, you are going to watch for that potential of winds as high as about 60 miles an hour. We did, again, got several reports of hail. We've also had some reports of wind. I don't know if we can check back in with the MLGW map on the producer computer, but I know we had, at last check, almost 8,000 people that were without power because of the wind and the rain and the lightning that had come through Memphis in the last little bit. Wouldn't be surprised to see those numbers going up a little bit more. Again, the wind still as high as 40 to 50 miles an hour coming right through Shelby County, and even some stronger storms now trying to develop back in Mariana, moving down toward the south. We're going to keep watching this for the next little bit. Just because there are a couple of areas that I'm kind of concerned about with some rotation. We have a tornado watch in effect until 5 a.m. So before we sign off, I'm just going to keep a close eye on a couple of areas in these storms. We might stay on for at least the next 10 minutes or so and just make sure these storms don't act up, because I don't want to leave you if these storms are going to try to do something crazy here. So Hardman County, McNairy County, wind, definitely a concern, but I wouldn't be surprised if a quick tornado didn't try to spin up, because there's just so much energy and so much fuel for that to happen. I'm going to investigate the wind in here. It still looks to me mainly like it's straight line wind. That's wind that blows in one direction. It can still cause damage, but a tornado, of course, spins. It's got winds in all kind of direction. So the straight line wind all in one direction indicates right now it does not look like there is a tornado, but they can spin up quick. So if you're in Bolivar, keep an eye on the weather. Even if there doesn't happen to be a tornado, that wind is going to really come through with some force right along 64 in about the next 5 or 6 minutes into Bolivar. Going back to the storms in Memphis and Shelby County, just giving you an idea of what is going on here. Millington, Fraser, it's past you now. This is all moving down to the south. It's more of an issue now for the airport area, Whitehaven, Germantown, and Collierville and Cordova. You're seeing the high wind and the heavy rain. It's going to continue to move south. That's going to bring DeSoto County some pretty good rain and wind in the next little bit. There's no warning with any of this, but it is a pretty heavy thunderstorm that is moving on down to the south. We're also going to have to keep watching this storm, Mariana, Lee County, St. Francis County, a pretty heavy storm there with some thunder and lightning mixing in. Again, meteorologist Corey Smith, he's been here with me all night. He's been here since this afternoon, actually. Corey, you seen anything over there that's piquing your interest?
Yeah, and I will go actually back to that storm that you were just on in Lee County. And I will say National Weather Service saying they're having a difficult time finding rotation. I think what we're looking at right here is maybe more of a downburst signature. With what we're seeing potentially. Doesn't look like we're seeing any rotation quite yet with this storm, which is great news, or at least nothing convincing enough to go with a warning. And I will say, like you said, this is probably the storm to watch. When we see these storms at the very end of a line like this, they have a lot of clean air to work with, and this is typically where we would see something try to spin up with this type of setup. So something that bears watching, I think, like you said, over the next couple of hours as this continues to work down south through the rest of the Mid-South. It looks like the National Weather Service also mentioning that they're going to be hopping on a call with the Storm Prediction Center to potentially expand this tornado watch. So I want to pull up the watch right now because we have those severe thunderstorm warnings, but we don't have a tornado watch out for the entire viewing area. In fact, Coahoma, Quitman, Panola, Lafayette, and then up towards Tippah and Alcorn counties are going to be where we don't have a tornado watch. I think the National Weather Service hours, trying to extend that potentially a little bit past 5 a.m. here as this line moves south. Just because, like we said, if you were watching us earlier on Saturday and Sunday, there is a very volatile atmosphere to work with here. So there is going to be the potential of maybe a quick spin up, even though thankfully so far we have not really seen that here in the Mid-South. We saw some maybe a potential tornadic activity up in Arkansas just outside of the viewing area. So that's going to be the hope that this trend continues, but it does look like we might see this tornado watch get extended down south. I will say right now, we do have 2 counties in our ABC 24 viewing area that have been cut out of the tornado watch, and that does include Poinsett and Mississippi counties in Arkansas. So these 2 counties, you're done with any tornadic potential. And in fact, if we switch things back over to the radar, you can see they're actually clear right now. And I would say at this point, those 2 counties are probably in the all clear for any type of stronger weather at this point. You are well beyond the line. We could see maybe some stray showers over the next couple of hours as this line very slowly progresses, but the severe threat in that part of the Mid-South, I think I'm confident enough to say, Trevor, is probably done with the severe threat.
Yeah, and I was actually just about to, Corey, draw kind of an all clear, and we're about to have a new tornado warning come out. So we're actually going to stay with you for just a little bit longer. It was an area I was just watching. I'll give folks the all clear for in just a second, but I want to get to this because this is a new tornado warning that's about to come out for this area in southern Madison County. This is south of Jackson. There's going to be a tornado warning right there north of Toon. That's really probably going to be north of Hardman County. I bet you they clip part of Hardman County in the warning, possibly even part of McNairy County. But this area of rotation in particular is probably going to be southern Madison County. It's going to come across 45, and then it's going to be an issue for Chester County, which technically we do not cover. So I'm not going to give super in-depth info if you're in Chester County because they are covered by the Jackson, Tennessee television market. So check in with the folks at WBBJ. They're great folks up there, super bright meteorologists. They're going to keep you safe in Jackson and Chester County. I'm going to focus more on Hardman and McNairy because those are my counties. That's my responsibility. But Madison and Chester, that belongs to the Jackson, Tennessee television market. So if you happened along our stream, I'll keep an eye on this, but I did want to let you know that's technically covered by Jackson. Again, an area of rotation here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and show you. This is in southern Madison County near Denmark. Several little areas that really could be spinning here within southern Madison County. Really, I'm watching 2 or 3. There could be a little rotation there. And then probably right here is another zone, and that's probably honestly the one they're going to warn for with those pixels in there where things are a little bit brighter. But there are a couple of areas in here where we could have tornadoes trying to spin up. So if you are in southern Madison County, our far northern Hardman County, go ahead and be in your tornado safe place and stay there for the next little bit. That warning is not out yet. Here it is actually officially just now. So there's the official tornado warning. We'll get these weather alerts off and just kind of show you where the box is. So this barely clips northern Hardman County. I mean, it's literally probably 2 miles of Hardman County, but I'm going to stay with you until the storm completely passes out of Hardman. McNairy, you're not included in the warning. Again, this is going to be for Madison County, Chester County, and Henderson County, mainly for this possible area of rotation that's south of Jackson. But again, they did include portions of Hardman County. I mean, barely Hardman County. There are just a couple of roads. Teague is in there, Highway 18, north of State Route 100. So this does not include Toon. It doesn't include Bolivar, but far northern Hardman County is in that warning. And there's that little area of rotation mixed in there just around Uptonville. That's going to cross 18 here in the next little bit. But winds are still very, very high in here. Even for the areas that are not in that official tornado warning box, throughout the rest of Hardman County, winds as high as 60 to 70 miles an hour in Bolivar right now. So even though the tornado potential is north of you, Bolivar, it's up a little closer to Jackson, the wind is still very, very high in there. And that's going to be passing through Hardman County and McNairy County in the next hour or so. As we come up on 1 a.m., I do want to do a reset here I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett alongside meteorologist Corey Smith. You're watching WATN. You're also watching us on abc24.com or other live streaming platforms. We have Roku, Fire TV. You can find us pretty much anywhere. Just search ABC24. We're going to stay on for the next little bit because there is a tornado warning for a sliver of Hardman County. That is just north of Bolivar. So Bolivar's not in a tornado warning. The area of rotation is up in Madison County, Tennessee. But the winds are awful right now through Bolivar, with winds as high as really probably 60, 70 miles an hour in here coming through Hardman County. So hunker down. I want you away from windows if you're in Hardman County as that's rolling through, because those winds are going to be pretty rough out here. So now that we know about the tornado warning, most of Hardman's not included. It's mainly an issue for Madison County and Jackson. We're going to watch that, but I do want to give you the all clear for some spots. I know a lot of people, they've got the weather anxiety. You want to stay up and watch the storms. I totally understand it. I was the same way. So I want to give you the all clear if I can. So I'm going to draw a circle for the people that can go to sleep and the people that don't need to worry about the weather anymore. Let's see if I can get my circle in here. Where did it go? Did I delete my circle? Man. All right, let's see there. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will make it some arrows, and it'll work just the same, right? You get the point. So these areas in here, we'll circle with these arrows. Let's say Poinsett County, Northern Cross County, Crittenden, most of Crittenden, Tipton, Lauderdale, Dyer, Mississippi counties. Those areas, I can say you're clear and you're done with the severe weather threat. So Dyersburg, Ripley, Covington, Blytheville, Truman, Harrisburg. The severe weather is done for you. Really, Millington, it's clear from you as well. Southern Shelby County still dealing with some heavy rain and thunder. If you're not in this circle, I need you to keep watching the weather. North Mississippi, I know it's been quiet for you all night, but this line's going to continue dropping south, and it's going to have the potential to produce high wind and heavy rain. So we're going to watch that very carefully in there for the next little bit. Again, North Mississippi, I still want you on guard for the next little bit. Go to sleep, but just have a way to get the weather alerts. Make sure your phone is on, your radio is on, some way that will wake you up in case a bad storm is headed your way. No warnings in effect for the Memphis Metro, but there is some heavy rain and wind in a good chunk of Memphis now, South Haven and Olive Branch. Again, nothing severe in Memphis or DeSoto County, nothing to be worried about. It's just a plain old thunderstorm, but there is definitely some heavy rain in there. Let's go back to our tornado warning now. And again, I want to remind you again, I'm going to go back to just the warning. This warning does include a part of Hardman County, far northern Hardman County. It's really going to be a couple of communities out here. Teague Road, you're in the tornado warning for Hardman County. Highway 18 north of State Route 100, they've clipped you in it. But I'm going to tell you where the real rotation is, and it's really going to be in Madison County. So this is going to be south of Jackson on Highway 18. That little area of rotation, there's really a couple of areas in there coming up to 45 and Pinson. So I know right now that's technically out of our area, but if you know anybody south of Jackson, Bemis is down there, Pinson, 45, make sure you're in your tornado safe place. Again, that's rolling right through Madison County, and it's moving away from us. It's moving away from the Mid-South, but there is really some significant signs of rotation in there coming into the southern portion of Jackson and Madison County. It's just south of, there's Bemis right there. So it's south of Bemis on Highway 18, that little hook echo that you see there on 18. It's about to cross Highway 45 near Pinson. There could easily be a tornado on the ground with this right now, south of Jackson, Tennessee, and south of Bemis. Now, again, this is moving off to the north and east, so it's moving out of the Mid-South. But I know some folks watch our stream that are not technically in our television viewing area. So I want to give you a track just while we're on and while we're watching this thing. If you do happen to be watching, I want to keep you updated and keep you in shape. So this is a possible tornado. We're tracking east. Pinson, Tennessee at 111, Life at 126, Lexington, Tennessee at 132, Darden at 141, Parsons at 146, Gumdale at 152. This is going to stay south of Interstate 40. It's south of Jackson, Tennessee right now. And really, it seems to be even south of the community of Bemis as well. I want to zoom back into that one more time because you might be getting some phone alerts. If you live in Bolivar, you're not in a tornado warning in Bolivar. You're just getting some rain and you're getting some high wind as well. But there is a possible tornado now in Madison County along Highway 18 that we are going to watch for as that moves to the east. Again, that's moving out of our area, but technically they did include part of Hardman County in that warning. So I'm going to stick with that for just a little bit, make sure it completely clears the area. But Jackson, Tennessee, Bemis, Lexington, they're going to be the ones that are in line for that tornado warning. And again, that's outside of our official coverage area. That is covered by the Jackson, Tennessee television market as you get out of Hardman County. There's still high wind in Hardman County, up to 60 miles an hour, and really the worst of that right over Bolivar right now. Also, wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of hail here in parts of DeSoto County, right over South Haven. There's some indications of maybe a little bit of small hail. That's going to be pretty much right at Goodman and Airways. There's likely a little bit of hail falling in there, and that's going to be passing through DeSoto County toward Lake Cormorant, toward Nesbit, toward Lewisburg in the next little bit. So again, the reason I'm going to stay with you is because technically part of Hardman County is in a tornado warning. It's far northern Hardman County. It's much more of an issue for Lexington and Jackson, Tennessee, and that's moving toward the east. Right now, none of us in the Mid-South have a concern with a tornado. These storms that we're seeing, high wind, heavy rain, maybe some hail, but for right now, no tornado warnings really impacting us. I know we have that one that's moving away from us, but that's going to continue to move out and clear out the Mid-South. Meteorologist Corey Smith, it looks to me like we're going to be signing off here soon. These storms seem to be behaving for the most part. I know Bolivar's getting some bad wind, but for us here in Memphis, it's just some plain old thunderstorms, but it's still packing a punch, right?
Yeah, that's right. What we're looking at right now is at least that strong wind out east. So I want to give you a full view on essentially what we're looking at wind-wise, and I want you to take a look here. Essentially, we got these really bright pinks over in West Tennessee, and this is moving out of the viewing area. Unless you're in Bolivar, you're dealing with this right now. But look down to the south. This is our other part of the line. We're not seeing those bright colors, and that's a sign that we're not seeing any severe winds with this part of our storms. And if I switch this back over to radar, you can see what's going on essentially is it's a much more broken, I would say just a bunch of thunderstorms. We're not seeing anything too organized, and that's a sign that we're not really probably going to be seeing any strong, organized, severe weather with this unless things really change here soon, which is a very promising sign because this is the area that if things were going to start to ramp up, it would be southern Mississippi now. If you're out towards the north, things are starting to quiet down now. So if you are in northeast Arkansas, point set towards Mississippi counties, you are in the clear at this point. Dyer County, Lauderdale, even Tipton County, you are pretty much done with the rainfall at this point. We're not expecting any severe weather for you. So if you've been staying up, you can feel comfortable enough to head off to bed right now. We are still watching this line push through Hardman and eventually McNairy counties. This is really going to be the one focal point going forward. And it's really this tornado warning why we are on air at this point for the very northern portion of Hardman County, where that rotation actually is north in Madison County. And even then, that rotation looking a little bit less distinct at this time. So pretty much what we're looking at, and I'll go ahead and circle this path that we've been watching, is essentially right here. You're going to see this rotation move off towards the east and staying outside of our viewing area. So with that being said, if you are in Hardman County, if you got that alert on your phone that you're under a tornado warning, I do want to at least give you at least a moment of peace in that rotation not heading towards you at all. In fact, we're just looking at that wind and heavy rain moving through right now. So if you're in tune, you're in the clear, at least from this tornado warning. You're just outside of the box there. It's not moving towards you. And in fact, outside of our viewing area into the Jackson, Tennessee market there. If we take a little bit of a broader look here, what some of those winds are looking like right now, it does look like currently that we are going to be seeing winds around 60 plus miles an hour right over Bolivar, but we're getting pretty high up in the atmosphere here. So if I sample some of these winds, you're going to see these pretty high numbers. We're talking 70 plus. Very likely we're seeing lower than that at the surface, closer to 60, 65 miles per hour at the most, maybe even a little bit below that. But still enough to cause some light damage, especially some down limbs, maybe a down tree here and there. We have very wet ground. We haven't really mentioned this so far tonight, Trevor, but we have seen a lot of rain over the last week. The ground is very soft, so it's not going to take much in the way of wind to maybe knock down some of those diseased and old trees. We might see some trees down tonight with 30-mile-per-hour winds. We don't necessarily need severe winds with the conditions that we see to potentially see some damage with these storms, which is why, especially if you are in one of these severe thunderstorm warnings right now, you should probably be taking care of this, taking this a little bit seriously, especially with this overnight threat. It's always a little bit more dicey when it's not bright outside, of course. But I will say everything is acting pretty nice here. We did just get an extension of a tornado watch. So we talked about this earlier. This is going to be for the rest of the viewing area here. So this is going to be for pretty much all of northern Mississippi now. And do you know what time that goes to, Trevor?
That one's going to be till 8 a.m.
Okay, so till 8 a.m. So we're now watching these counties in North Mississippi until 8 a.m. I will say we'll probably get that canceled before then. So this is going to work towards 8 a.m. That's going to be the southern edge of this watch, probably around 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going to start to see some of these watches being canceled. But I'll send it back over to you, Trevor. It looks like right now, at least, and I'll switch us back over to radar so we can see what's going on. That tornado warning, even though it is, and it looks like it was actually just cut away for Hardman County. So it looks like entirely out of our viewing area now for that tornado warning. So it looks like potentially here, like things calming down.
Yeah, at least for now, things have seemed to be behaving. We still have some storms that are packing a punch. In fact, we have a new thunderstorm warning that's going to come out for DeSoto County. There's some hail falling now in DeSoto County near Lewisburg and Pleasant Hill. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But I do kind of want to just work down this line of storms. If you're north of the storms, you're done for the night for the most part. There could be some showers, but if you're in like Dyersburg, Blytheville, Ripley, Covington, Millington, the severe weather threat is really over for you. Who we're really going to be watching for now is like McNairy County, Hardman County, and North Mississippi. Those are the zones that we're still going to have to watch for the next little bit. That could produce some severe weather. High winds and hail going to be the biggest concern. I want to start out with what's happening out near Bolivar and that tornado warning. Again, we've got some rotation south of Jackson, passing near Pinson right now. That's moving out of the mid-south. So that's over toward Chester County. That's over toward Lexington, Tennessee. That's moving away from us. So I can give you the all clear, at least from the tornado potential in Bolivar. The tornado warning has been canceled for Hardman County, which is good. Now, the severe thunderstorm warning for Hardman County continues. There is really high wind in here, as high as 60 miles an hour over Bolivar right now. That's going to be moving east towards Selmer. In fact, I want to show you some of the winds in here. We've had some pretty wild reports of high wind out near Bolivar. Again, as high as 60 miles an hour out here, passing through pretty much all of Hardman County and McNairy County. You're up next. I want to put another storm track on it before we can completely clear it out of our area. It's getting toward the edge now, but we got to get it through McNairy County. It's going to be near Middleton at 119, Bethel Springs at 129, Selmer at 134, Raymer at 139, Morris Chapel at 144, Corinth a little closer to 2 a.m. So within the next hour, we're going to be seeing that high wind and heavy rain come through McNairy, Alcorn County. So a heads up there, that threat is not done for you, at least just yet. Now, as we go through Shelby County, a lot of us are starting to clear out. I would say that most of Shelby County is clear of a severe weather threat. If you're watching from most of Shelby County Tornado threat's pretty much over. Hail threat, wind threat is pretty much over. There's still some rain out near Collierville, Germantown, Hickory Hill, Ridgeway areas. That's going to push out. There could be a little more rain overnight, but I feel pretty comfortable in saying if you're watching us from Shelby County, the severe weather threat has wrapped up. So if you're in Memphis, Cordova, Germantown, Collierville, Millington, some rain possible, some thunder, but I think the worst of the severe weather has passed Memphis. I don't expect another tornado warning near the Memphis area anytime tonight. Now, DeSoto County, we're still watching you. And again, now we're starting to transition to where this line of storms is getting into North Mississippi. Heavy rain and maybe some hail now passing through DeSoto County. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning for DeSoto County. That is going to go until, let's see, 2 a.m. for some hail not far from Hernando. So when we turn on our hail mode, you see that purple blob there from South Haven down to Nesbitt, Hernando, even out toward Eudora and Arcabutla. There's some hail out that way. That's moving down to the southeast. So Lewisburg, you'll see it in the next little bit. Maybe even some hail out near 269 and 302 toward Mount Pleasant. There's going to be some hail out in that direction as well. I do want to track this section of the storm. Since we tracked the other section, I want to get a new track on this one as well. Again, this storm near DeSoto County, mainly producing heavy rain and some hail. That'll be near Byhalia pretty much right now. Love at 122, Wakefield at 133, Holly Springs at 143, and Lake Center at 158. So a heads up for you as those storms are going to continue to move down toward the south. Eastern Arkansas, there's a couple of storms over here. We were watching one a little bit ago that might have had some rotation near Marianna. Doesn't look as impressive to me. There is a little storm now north of Forest City that could be packing a punch of maybe some hail and some wind in there too. Just kind of clicking around and seeing what's going on here. There's definitely some wind in there north of Forest City, but no watches or warnings with this one. No warnings in effect. Just some heavy rain and some thunder and lightning coming up I-40. So again, there could be a little more rain in the Memphis Metro overnight tonight, at least until maybe 3 a.m. before we can clear this all out of here. But in general, this is all moving out. So we are just about to send things back over.
We might be getting a new tornado warning now.
I say that, and we're going to look out for another new tornado warning. So we're going to stay with it for at least a little bit longer because this rotation that we were watching up near Henderson, Tennessee, it's veering really close to McNairy County. So we had that rotation near Pinson, south of Jackson. Now it looks like it might be a little closer to Henderson in Chester County, and that could put it in the northern portion of McNairy County as well. I want to zoom in a little bit and just get an idea.
It's right over Henderson.
Yeah, there's definitely some rotation there, pretty much right on Henderson. And it looks to me really like it is going to stay just north of McNairy County. So this is McNairy down here. You've got Fanger 45, 40 Forks, Enville, Morris, Adamsville's down by my foot there. So this is mainly going to stay north of you, definitely nowhere near Selmer, this tornado potential. It's mainly going to be along State Route 100 east of 45. But it looks like they might be about to put out a new tornado warning that might clip a part of McNairy County. If that's the case, we'll stay with you. But it does look to me, even if they do that, the best sign of rotation, the best tornado potential is going to stay to the north of McNairy County, and it's going to be more of an issue for Chester County this morning. So here's the tornado warning. It does include a part of McNairy County. So we're going to stay with you here at least until 2 a.m. or until they cancel this a little earlier. So we're going to be with you for the next little bit. Again, this is a tornado warning for a part of McNairy County until 2 a.m. Signs of rotation now near Henderson, and it's kind of moving off to the east-southeast. So we have a possible tornado near Henderson, Tennessee right now, right in that area. And as we track that down to the south, that's going to be near Sweet Lips at 124, Enville at 129, Milledgeville at 133, Morris Chapel, that is in McNairy County, at 135. Swift by 146 and Havana by 148. So again, a good chunk of this possible rotation near Henderson is going to stay north of McNairy County, but there is definitely a sign in here of a little bit of rotation. So we're just going to stay with you until this can totally clear out of the Mid-South. But over Henderson right now, over 45, right at State Route 100, moving off toward the east. So most of that north of McNairy County, but I want to stay with you just to make sure it stays north of McNairy County. I do believe the bigger concern right now in McNairy is the wind that is moving in. So even though the northern portion of the county is in that red tornado warning, Selmer, you're not. You're just in a severe thunderstorm warning, and that is for the winds that are going to be coming in as high as 50, 60, even 70 miles an hour. They came through Bolivar not long ago, but now they're rolling into Selmer. So that heads up for Selmer now in McNairy County. High wind going to be a pretty big concern for you with those winds even as high as 65 to 70 miles an hour. So we're watching that. Again, the reason we're going to stay with you is because there is a sign of a little bit of rotation near Henderson, Tennessee. That is technically out of our viewing area, but what we're going to be watching for is if that clips northern McNairy County. So that's the McNairy County line right in there. Most of it is going to be just to the north of McNairy County. It's just barely going to miss McNairy County, but Milledgeville, it's going to be pretty close to you, so be in your safe place. Again, this does not include Selmer. This is far northern McNairy County where there is the potential of a tornado, and that's moving off to the east. I do want to get back to some other storms here. We have that severe thunderstorm warning still in effect for DeSoto County with some hail and some high wind potential. That's now moved out of South Haven. It's moving out of Olive Branch. More of an issue now for places like Lewisburg, Byhalia, Holly Springs. High wind and hail will watch out for you. But as we zoom out, really, there are a couple of stronger storms. One of those is what's coming through Selmer in the next little bit with the high winds. And then northern Marshall and DeSoto County seeing some high wind and hail potential as well. That's why we've got that severe thunderstorm warning out for DeSoto County. Also a pretty strong storm popping up near Forest City. This is right on I-40. That could be producing some gusty wind and some hail. Corey, what you got over there?
Yeah, so I want to go back to this tornado warned storm real quick because I was looking through this, and I think at one point we did have a tornado on the ground just outside of the viewing area. So I want to switch you back here to about 1:09 a.m. here. This is going to be just northeast of Deanburg. The rotation just about right here, northeast of Deanburg. And if we switch over to our debris detector, I want to show you here just around that same period, you're going to see this little area of yellow here, a sign that there's some particles that aren't exactly the same size. And I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over so you can see that a little bit better. But it popped up pretty much right there, 1:09 a.m., right where that couplet was. So it looks like potentially just right over the border here of Hardman County, there might have been a tornado down just for a second there. But thankfully, we're not seeing it. So I wanted to show you that first off to say that there is a potential that maybe we did have a tornado down, but we're not seeing that currently, just north. The rotation would be just north, right about here of the McNairy County line. We're not seeing that on our debris detector. So it looks like potentially we did have a tornado there kind of in all the noise, but right now, not the case. So we're going to continue watching this very closely because that's kind of how these types of tornadoes are going to work tonight, is they're going to be there for maybe one scan, and if they just happen to fall through the crack here, we might not be able to see that, and that's something the National Weather Service is going to struggle with too. All of us will when things are there for about 2 minutes or so. But it looks like at least potentially there we might have had something there on the ground, and I will say things looking a little bit better now. We had that smaller couplet, and I'll put it back to where that was, where these greens were touching the reds on your screen here, a sign of rotation. That's not really the case anymore. That's looking a lot less put together. So if you are in northern McNairy County, I will say at least looking a little bit less conducive for there potentially being a tornado with this part of the storm, Trevor.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. Unfortunately, like I said, a lot of that is going to be barely north of McNairy County. And if there was a touchdown, it was very close to the Hardman and Madison County line. So just south of Jackson, could have had a quick tornado there. This is now kind of skimming that line with McNairy County and Chester County. So that's why that tornado warning is issued for extreme northern McNairy County. There could be, and really it looks like maybe the rotation now a little bit further south to where it's right on that line, the McNairy and Chester County line. So I want to zoom in a little bit closer if this thing is going to try to straddle into McNairy County. This is why they issued that warning, just because it was so close to the county line. So just get your bearings straight. Over here on the right side of the screen is Highway 45. That's Henderson and Chester County. This is McNairy County. The Fenger community is down there. Milledgeville on 22 is right behind me. You have Enville. Could be some rotation there around Sweet Lips Road. You get in Tennessee, especially West Tennessee, you get some interesting street and city names like that. Always love to see which ones we can find. But out in here, right along that northern McNairy, southern Chester County line, we'll look out for that area of rotation. It doesn't look as pronounced as it did a bit ago, to the point where it doesn't look like there's for sure a tornado on the ground anymore. But there is definitely a good bit of rotation in there. At least there was a bit ago. Center Hill Road, that's the Center Hill Road in McNairy County. Don't want to get anybody in DeSoto County worked up. But again, possible rotation in northern McNairy County. If you are in that area, go ahead and get in your tornado safe place just to be on the safe side. Really, it's going to be Morris Chapel that's going to be the closest to seeing this possible tornado. Most of it's going to miss McNairy County. But even without the tornado, the winds in here are still packing quite a punch. Coming through Selmer, we have winds as high as 60 miles an hour right on the doorstep of Selmer. It's going to be there in the next 2 or 3 minutes, and then eventually toward Corinth as well. And that's why they've just put out this new severe thunderstorm warning. So this severe thunderstorm warning covers a big chunk of northeast Mississippi, parts of Benton, Tippah, Alcorn County, McNairy County as well. And that's for that wind of 50 to 60 miles an hour that's passing on through. Back to the west of this, though, we still got that severe thunderstorm warning for DeSoto County. And there could be a little hail in there. We actually had a report of hail near Nesbitt not too long ago. And right over Hernando, still some decent signs of hail. That's moving toward the northeast along 305. So Lewisburg, Cockram, Byhalia, you're going to be next up to potentially see a little bit of hail. I'll track that out for you as it moves kind of off toward the east. So Lewisburg by about 1:30, you might have some hail coming in. Cockram at 1:31, Ingram's Mill at 1:33, Red Banks in Marshall County at 1:45. So we are going to have, again, this storm in DeSoto County that has a good potential of producing some hail, and it's pretty much right over Lewisburg right now. 269 and 305, heavy rain and some pretty decent thunder and lightning, probably waking some folks up. No tornado concern in DeSoto County right now. What we are concerned about, though, in DeSoto is the hail and the heavy rain and the wind as well. I want to get back to the tornado warning because they're going to give us an update on that. Again, if you're just waking up with us, your phone might have made a little noise out in McNairy County. We have a tornado warning for the far northern portion of McNairy County. It's that northeastern corner. I'll actually get the radar off just so you can see what we're talking about. The far northeastern corner of McNairy County. It does not include Selmer. Selmer, you are not in a tornado warning. It's far northeastern McNairy County for at least the next few minutes. This warning technically goes until 2 o'clock. Might be canceled a little bit early, but the reason that it is issued is because we've had some decent signs of rotation right along the Chester and McNairy County line. So there's Henderson on Highway 45. State Route 100 goes through there. And then you've got Lexington right up here at the top of your screen. So we've got what could be some rotation there and some high wind as well. I think really a lot of this now is probably just wind that's about to come into Enville, Morris Chapel, and Adamsville. Now, I will tell you, we had some reports back in Madison County, not far from Pinson, that there were several power outages in southern Madison County. And that's where Corey was talking about we might have had a quick tornado touchdown in Madison County. But it looks like now that has moved east. And if there is any rotation, it's going to be right on the line of Chester and McNairy County, pretty close to Enville and Morris Chapel. Again, this is well to the north of Selmer, well to the north of Bethel Springs, well to the north of Adamsville, Enville community up along 22 that goes right through there, and eventually continuing to move off toward the east. So again, right near Enville, maybe a little bit of rotation in there, but I really think the biggest concern for now is going to be the wind. And that really goes for everybody. Wind and hail, still pretty big concerns. And it's really going to be more of a North Mississippi issue soon. We have one little cell over in Arkansas that has really been coming down pretty heavy near Forest City, between Forest City and West Memphis. But it's this line of storms that's continuing to move south. So if you've seen the storms, you're pretty much done for the rest of the night. Most of West Tennessee is done. Memphis, it looks like our severe weather threat is pretty much over, but it's going to be North Mississippi. I'll actually show you our storm energy. This is where there's fuel for storms to turn severe. Plenty of it in North Mississippi, not as much in western Tennessee or eastern Arkansas. Those storms have kind of eaten up all the energy, but it's North Mississippi. We still have to watch for that potential of some high winds, heavy rain, maybe a tornado. I do think that threat will continue to go down through the rest of the night, but definitely some storms still possible through North Mississippi, and that is why we have that tornado watch that is in effect, because this whole line is going to continue to move down to the south. I do want to check in on this storm near Forest City just because it has kind of bubbled up here and stuck with us for the last little bit. Good thunder and lightning on Forest City on I-40 between Forest City and West Memphis. Heavy rain mixed in there too. Doesn't look severe or anything, but it's definitely a couple of more good downpours, even though the heaviest of that rain has cleared out. DeSoto County still looking at a hail potential for you as well. Mainly out near Lewisburg now, coming into Byhalia. We'll turn on that hail tracker. You could see over the last little bit, it's really going to stretch from Hernando over toward Lewisburg. You're going to see that swath of hail where it has fallen over about the last 2 hours. Here it comes. Some in South Haven, and then it really looks like down near Hernando and along 269 near Lewisburg. We had some hail falling, and we could still have some hail falling. 269 near Getwell Road, Laughter Road is out there, and Lewisburg definitely could be some hail. Again, no tornado threat in DeSoto County, but it is definitely some heavy rain and some hail mixing in there. Same story in Marshall County. No warning on this, but there's some heavy rain and high wind. Northern Marshall County, southern portions of Fayette County. And then, of course, as we continue to go toward the east, we still have this severe thunderstorm warning for high wind through Selmer. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts rolling through Selmer right now. That's going to be in Corinth, too, in the next little bit. It's coming through Walnut as well. And again, we still do technically have that tornado warning that's in effect for northern McNairy County. And that's the reason that we're still with you. We had possibly a quick tornado touchdown up in Madison County, Tennessee. Now that same storm is barely clipping McNairy County. So Selmer, you're not in the tornado warning, but Morris Chapel, you are. And there could be a little bit of rotation mixing in here just to the north of Adamsville. If there's not a tornado, there's definitely some high wind coming into Morris Chapel and Milledgeville in the next little bit. And again, that's going to be crossing out of our area pretty soon. But I do want to stay with you at least until that is all wrapped up for the next little bit. Again, Morris Chapel, get in your safe place in northeastern McNairy County. Eventually, this is going to be an issue for Savannah, Tennessee, out in that area, and eventually out toward Pickwick. But again, that's clearing out of our part of the Mid-South. Still that tornado warning for northeastern McNairy County, at least for the next little bit, likely at least for the next 15 or 20 minutes. Corey, several other storms across the Mid-South. I know you've got your eye on some stuff. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I just actually talked to the National Weather Service. They're gonna answer here, but we are seeing at least some weak rotation just north of Purdy, just outside of the tornado warning. Not enough that we're gonna probably see a tornado warning, but we'll see what they say there. But there is at least some small rotation outside of that warning north of Purdy. just west of Adamsville. At least strong winds along this part of the line, and that's been a constant with this part of the line. This is the same part of that convection that has been bringing some pretty heavy winds since Millington. We've been seeing 60, 70 mile per hour winds, and I will just say National Weather Service is seeing this rotation too. So if this does peak up here a little bit in the next couple scans, that might be something we'll have to watch for, but it does look like we do have at least some weak rotation a little bit further down into more central McNairy County, just northeast of Selmer here, getting closer to Adamsville, but not enough for a tornado warning. Now I will switch us back over because we do have that concern for hail in North Mississippi. This is going to be right along 269, so let's go ahead and switch over to our hail signature here right near Lewisburg. You can see those blues, and that's a sign of some smaller hail. We'll go ahead and sample that if you're in Lewisburg right now, right along 269. Hopefully you're not along 269 because potentially some pea to marble size hail making it down to the ground there. And of course, with hail, also the potential maybe some stronger winds, 50 to 60 miles per hour, some gusts with that. But thankfully, nothing too significant. We were talking about at the onset of this potential of over 2 inches of hail. We'll definitely take anything under 1 inch with these storms. And this warning will continue here. I'll go ahead and sample that warning. This is going to be for DeSoto, Marshall, and Tate County until 2 o'clock in the morning. So we have a little bit longer to go with this severe thunderstorm warning as it works off towards the east. By Holly, you're in this as well. Holly Springs, you're in the line of this storm, but we'll see if it actually maintains itself. These storms on the south side of the line have been a little bit less organized than what we've been seeing out east. So let's go ahead and back out east because that's where we've been seeing the winds, and it's really now McNairy and Alcorn counties that are going to be dealing with at least where we've been seeing the strongest of this storm moving through. And you'll see overall, we're not seeing the signatures that we saw earlier on of at least a strong wind along this, and we're looking really high up. So if I sample this, we're looking very high. We're looking up thousands of feet, and we're only picking up winds of around 50 or so miles per hour. So it does look like this might not be maintaining as much strength, but there is a possibility maybe a 60 plus mile an hour winds in this line as it continues to work off towards the east. We'll go back and circle back to this tornado warning that we've been following that's out till 2 a.m. for northern McNairy County. And I will say at this point, there is nothing that I see that shows any signs of rotation for what we were originally seeing there with this warning. So if we go back a little bit, we can show you where that warning was, and it was actually a lot further north near Henderson where we were seeing that rotation. And I'll go ahead and circle where that came from, and if we move things out, we're just not seeing that anymore. Along this pretty much entire part of this line, I'm seeing no signs of rotation in northern McNairy County. So I think at this point, as soon as we get close to 2 o'clock, it looks like at least that tornado warning will probably expire and not be continued, and especially from the latest in the National Weather Service, it looks like they don't intend to extend that warning there. They are watching for the potential of some hail here in northern McNairy County. You can see just to the northwest of Leapwood, Center Hill Road, Finger Leapwood Road underneath where we're potentially maybe seeing some pea-size hail. I'll go ahead and sample that for you guys. Just towards the west-southwest of Enville, and you can see around half-inch hail. So we're probably getting some really small hail down at the surface mixing with that rain, along with those stronger winds. And thankfully, even though we do have those tornado warnings out, we are not seeing any signs of rotation currently with this part of the line. And I will say we're now through a good chunk of the Mid-South. We're probably over halfway done with this event at this point. We probably have another, I would say, hour and a half left of these storms, and we're going to be in the clear. I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, Trevor, but as soon as we get done with this line, we got some great weather on the way for Memorial Day. So if we can get through the next couple of hours, I know some people are going to be enjoying that sunshine later on.
Yeah, always good to look ahead to the good weather, right? I know we have storms tonight, but by the time you wake back up tomorrow morning, we're going to have sunshine and great weather for your Memorial Day. I know I am looking forward to a quiet week of weather after these crazy storms. Hey, let's go outside. Let's take this MDOT camera at I-269 and Laughter Road. This is in DeSoto County. This is where we've been watching that severe thunderstorm warning with some heavy rain and some hail possible. This is what's moving through right now. Again, this is in DeSoto County. 269 at Laughter Road. You can see nearly the continuous lightning. We've had heavy rain along 269 for the last little bit, and we've also had some reports of hail down in DeSoto County. Other than that, in DeSoto County, we don't have any other reports of damage, but there has been a little bit of hail down there. And you see that lightning is just really constant, and I'm sure the loud thunder is waking some folks up in DeSoto County again. Other than that, there's nothing too much of an alarm to be worried with right now. And as we come back out to the radar, I'll tell you, as some more people go to bed, some more people wake up with these storms rolling through, I have to be honest and say there's really nothing at this second that I am overly concerned about. We do have some thunderstorms. Some of them are producing some high wind. Some of them are producing a little bit of hail and some thunder and lightning, but it's nothing that we haven't been through before. We're used to these typical thunderstorms here. Let me not slam my finger on this keyboard. We've got some heavy rain, high winds in DeSoto County, Marshall County, one little cell coming into northern Benton County that could be a little bit heavier. That's going to be coming into Walnut here in the next little bit. Ashland and Walnut, likely a little bit of pea-sized hail falling there. But again, nothing too crazy, nothing that we haven't dealt with before. I know we do still technically have a tornado warning for a sliver of McNairy County for the next little bit. This should be trimmed back soon, but what happened was we had a possible tornado in Madison County. They're now clear from the threat. That possible tornado passed through Chester County, and then it passed through northern McNairy County. Now, it doesn't look like we had a tornado in McNairy County, and it looks like really the worst of this storm is about to clear out, at least the potential that could have produced a tornado. Now, there's still heavy rain and very high wind in Selma right now, but the area of rotation that we were watching is quickly moving out into Hardman County. Now, we have a couple of more minutes before it does so, and that's a little interesting there. I think that's what the Weather Service was just talking about. This little area here near Adamsville, possible rotation mixed in there. And the thing is, with these storms, tornadoes are so hard to find in these storms because they spin up so quickly. They can be down for 2 minutes and then they're back up. This is not one of those days where the tornadoes are going to last forever. These are very quick touchdowns that then lift back up. But I am concerned about that area near Adamsville right now.
Yeah, and that was the rotation we had circled over by Purdy. So this has been there for a couple scans now.
Yeah, so this area here, Adamsville, go ahead and get in your safe place. If you're not there now, just hunker down for the next 5 minutes because there is this area of rotation that's about to cross Highway 22 near Bob Abernathy Road, Mendy Lane. I can't say for sure that this would be a tornado on the ground, but there are definitely some signs of rotation just north of Adamsville, and those greens and reds are together. That's where we're seeing that possible circulation. It's about to cross into Hardman County, and then it's not our issue anymore. It's going to cross out towards Savannah and Pickwick. There's the latest scan. Now it's literally right on the county line. So just as quickly as we were saying, Adamsville, get in your safe place. It seems like now it's pretty much past Adamsville. What this is doing is the greens are going one way, reds are going another. And when you have those close together, you're getting that area of circulation. So there is definitely something trying to spin around, could be just to the north of Adamsville and kind of passing into Hardman County now. So it seems like, again, if it was something that spun up really quickly, it came and went. It seems like it's now past Adamsville. It's getting into Hardman County, headed out toward Pickwick. But that's the thing with these storm systems. It's mainly wind, but tornadoes can try to spin up pretty quickly. But we do have high wind, regardless of if there's a tornado or not. The wind is awful in McNairy County right now. Could be as high as 65 to 70 miles an hour. Even some spots where it could be a little higher than that. Even once the storms pass by out in Hardman County, we're still getting indications of some really high wind as those storms are continuing to move toward the east. So we'll watch this little area for a couple of more minutes here as it passes into Hardman County, but there could have been a little area of rotation that tried to pop up near Adamsville, Tennessee, and McNairy County. That's now passing into Hardman County. So if you know anybody out that way, just tell them to keep their eye out. There is a tornado warning still in effect, although that will likely be canceled for McNairy County soon because the worst of that weather is now moving out of McNairy County. So we'll watch that. Adamsville, whatever that was, it seems like it's past you now. I know the wind is still rough out there, but that area of rotation now past Adamsville, and now it's out into Hardman County. There's actually a couple of little areas there that could be trying to spin in Hardman County as it moves east, Corey.
Yeah, and let's go ahead. I want to take weather 4 real quick. We haven't talked about this in a while, but if we can pull up weather 4, guys. Look at the power outages now. We're seeing quite an increase, over 9,000. In fact, MLGW saying about 9,600 people or customers without power in Shelby County, 300 on our map here in Crittenden, and 2,500 in Fayette. And I will say, Trevor, that tracks just in line. The Crittenden to Shelby to Fayette County is where we saw those strongest winds by far moving through the Mid-South tonight. So that is not a shock that we're seeing those power outages. I will say, thankfully, this is coming to an end soon. So hopefully those crews can get out and hopefully restore some of that power. But I wanted to check back in. It's been a while since we've looked at those power outages, and they've gone up quite a bit since we've last looked at them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I bet we see more where that came from. Sounds like downtown Memphis, at least part of it might be without power. But these storms are continuing to roll out again. This is all moving out pretty quickly. Western Tennessee, we're going to be able to pretty quickly give you the all clear as these storms roll out. It's really just McNairy County that we're still watching. Eastern Arkansas, you have a couple of storms back here, but I think the severe weather potential with those is very low. So Eastern Arkansas, pretty much that severe weather threat is over for you. Western Tennessee, with the exception of McNairy County, it's pretty much wrapped up for you. Now this is going to be a Mississippi thing, and this same line of storms that's knocked out power, produced hail, and brought these high winds is going to be passing down through North Mississippi. So coming through DeSoto County, we had some hail there in the last little bit. Holly Springs, Northern Marshall County, heavy rain and some high wind just north of you. And then Ashland, northern Benton County, also some high wind and hail there. Just to put this into motion for you, this is all moving down toward the south. So over the next couple of hours, it's going to be an impact for North Mississippi. Eventually, it's going to get toward Oxford, Clarksdale, Panola County, places like that. But it is continually moving down toward the south. And by, I would say, 4 a.m., this will be pretty much all clear, and then the rest of your Monday looks great. But we just got to get this last line of storms cleared out of here. Again, Memphis, there could be some showers and storms for the next couple of hours, but the severe weather threat's pretty much over now. It's mainly going to be North Mississippi that we have to watch for the potential of some high wind and maybe a little bit of hail. I want to check back in with our tornado warning because as soon as this tornado warning is allowed to expire, we are going to go ahead and drop off, at least soon. We're going to watch this for the next little bit. But what happened was there was a couple of areas of possible rotation that were coming through northern McNairy County. And it seems like that has really cleared out. And it seems like they're about to trim back. They just did. Part of that tornado warning. It still does include at least a sliver of McNairy. So we're going to stick with you. We'll just stay till 2 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock we'll sign off. But until 2 o'clock we will stay on. But I can say pretty confidently at 2 we're going to hop off the air as these storms continue to roll by. I just want to kind of reset, and I'm going to go county by county of what's going on. McNairy County, again, you had that area of rotation. It's now passing into Hardman County. So I think we're pretty clear of any tornado threat now in McNairy County. That's now a Hardman County issue. High wind and heavy rain still continues in McNairy County. Winds really as high as 60 miles an hour in here. Same story for Corinth. High wind coming in. I know it doesn't look too bad on the radar, but even though it's not raining that hard, winds are really rough coming into Corinth. Walnut's the same way. High winds mixing in there as high as 50 to 60 miles an hour. And then we have some even stronger storms kind of back off to the west. We've got some storms near Ashland in Benton County, northern Marshall County, Holly Springs, and Byhalia, seeing the heavy rain and the hail as well. And then DeSoto County also with a threat of some wind and some hail. And there is also a ton of lightning in here. As we check this out, there's about 200 strikes of lightning. That's just in the last 15 minutes. And just to show you, I want to take the camera that we have in the vid wall. I believe that is I-269 down here at I-22. So this is near Byhalia. I-22 at I-269. We're looking back toward that storm. You can see all the lightning on the back side of it, and it is really lighting up the sky. I imagine that's waking up quite a few people. So if you are just joining us, again, thunder and lightning is loud, heavy rain, thunder is, and the gusty wind is also loud. But you can see all that lightning down there. This is I-269 near I-22 headed into Marshall County with that lightning on the backside of the storms. All right, back to the radar just to show you what we're watching. Again, heavy rain, high wind, the biggest concerns in here. Nothing I'm overly worried about, nothing that's really that concerning to me. We can all deal with some rain and wind. I'm not seeing wind that is extremely high in this area. I'm not seeing any concerns with tornadoes, but definitely some heavy rain and some wind that is rolling through there. They're actually going to let that severe thunderstorm warning expire at 2 o'clock. So that's going to drop off at 2 o'clock. And then all we'll have to deal with, again, is the rain and the wind. Again, 500 strikes of lightning just in the last 15 minutes. And it's mainly in North Mississippi now. That line of storms scooting to the south. It's going to maintain some intensity. High wind, heavy rain possible with these storms. Tornadoes, not out of the question. We do have a tornado watch that's going to go for the next few hours. So as these storms roll through, I think the tornado potential is going to continue to decrease, but I can't completely rule one out. So we are going to continue to watch it, but I think it's really going to be more of a high wind and a heavy rain concern as these storms pass into North Mississippi. Tunica, you're kind of getting in on some of it too. We had some folks asking about Tunica earlier. No warning with this, but heavy rain, some thunder and lightning, and maybe a little bit of hail passing in through northern Tunica County. We got a little storm also in Crittenden County, just west of West Memphis, some thunder and lightning there. None of that is severe. So we're just about 9 minutes from that tornado warning officially expiring. Again, we had maybe some circulation in McNairy County. It's now crossed into Hardman County, so they're going to let that tornado warning go. And then we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's also going to expire. Both of those are good things. We want to see these warnings expire. So that means here in about 8 minutes or so, we're going to sign off. We've been on for about 3 hours. So we're going to take a breather here and sign off because, again, right now, to me, these storms are not doing anything overly concerning. Yes, they're going to be noisy. They're going to make some thunder and lightning, heavy rain, gusty winds. But other than that, right now, nothing too concerning going on. Meteorologist Corey Smith, he's been here with me. He's been here way longer than I have. He got in here about 1 o'clock today, so he's working on almost a 13-hour shift. Corey, we're getting ready to sign off here, it looks like, but any final thoughts from you as we watch these storms?
I will say things a lot quieter, it looks like, on that southern edge, which is great news. I think if that's going to be the case, we're probably going to be done here, like you said, when those warnings expire. I will say currently right now, over 13,000 people across the viewing area without power. So it's going to take a little while to get all those lights back on, and that's because of those strong winds that we went through. But I will say, at one point earlier on today, and I'm going to go ahead and loop this the last 6 hours to show everyone what we've been dealing with since the beginning of this event. We had the potential, at least, for a tornado outbreak here in the Mid-South, stretching up into southern Missouri, and it looks like we probably avoided that at this point. It's been really just a wind event so far this night, and we can't be happier about that. Whenever things like that don't pan out to the worst possible solution, definitely some great news there. Of course, there is still some damage. There's people without power tonight. It sounds like, thankfully, though, should be a pretty quick cleanup after this. And I think for a lot of people here, there's going to be some great news because we're coming off of a week of multiple days of severe weather. It's been a lot for us here in the Mid-South, and we finally get a break with that. We're looking at some sunshine for pretty much an entire week straight. No storms, no rain to speak of. And this looks to be really the last line of things that we're watching here, Trevor. It's been a long week, but I will say I'm definitely thankful here that it looks like, at least tornado-wise, this line and setup underperformed here, because going into tonight, it looked like it could have been pretty bad at one point.
Yeah, I think I can speak for everybody when I say we are ready to get this stormy weather pattern out of here. We've had the last 6 days where we've had storms and some threats of severe weather. So this is kind of the last hurrah for a while. And again, this tornado warning is about to expire for McNairy County, so we'll be getting off here soon. But really after that, I think our biggest issue for the rest of the night is going to be some high wind and some heavy rain. I think that tornado potential is going to continue to go down. Now, we do still have a tornado watch for North Mississippi for the next few hours, so we can't rule anything out. But I think it's going to be more of a hail and a wind and a heavy rain threat as these storms move into North Mississippi. Now, if you're in eastern Arkansas, or really at this point, even western Tennessee, the severe weather threat is pretty much over for you. If you're in eastern Arkansas, things are wrapping up for the most part. Western Tennessee, it's wrapped up for you. Memphis, we can give you the all clear from severe weather. There could be a little bit of rain at times for the next couple of hours, maybe some thunder, but that severe weather threat's over for Memphis and Shelby County. McNairy County, you still have some wind, but in the next 20 minutes or so, that's going to clear out of here. And then this is all going to be a North Mississippi issue. So some rain and wind coming through Corinth, Walnut, maybe a little bit of hail mixed in there, and a lot of thunder and lightning, maybe even again, another area of some hail near Tunica. Before we go, I'm going to track all of this out of here as it moves down to the east and the southeast. This final batch of storms through North Mississippi. This is going to be near Senatobia at 156, Como at 207 with some wind and some hail, New Albany at 222, Oxford at 226, Guntown at 232, Saltillo at 238, Toccopola at 242, and Tupelo at 249. So if it's in Tupelo by 2:49, that means it's going to be out of here for everybody by 3 o'clock. So give it another hour. These storms will move out of here. But if you are in North Mississippi, just be aware that you could have some noisy storms, heavy rain, gusty winds, and maybe a little bit of small hail. But I think overall, we're trending in a much better direction. I think, like I said, we can all deal with some heavy rain and some high wind. What we don't want to deal with is tornadoes, and I think the threat of that is going to decrease through the night. Before we go, I do want to invite you to join our ABC 24 Weather Watchers Facebook group. Now that the storms are moving out, if you do have any reports of damage or you have some hail photos that you'd like to share with us, scan that QR code, open up your phone's camera and scan that QR code. That's going to take you to our ABC 24 Weather Watchers Facebook group, and you could submit your photos and your reports there. You can also just search ABC 24 Weather Watchers on Facebook. Now, what I don't want you doing is going out in the storms, in the lightning, and the hail to get pictures. It's just not that important. But once that storm passes, if you do have any reports or photos you'd like to share with us, maybe you've got some branches down, we'd love to see those. Again, you can scan that QR code on the screen. Also, just search up ABC 24 Weather Watchers. You can also text us your weather photos at 901-321-7520. Now, again, we're just about to sign off for the night, but if you haven't already, if you're not watching us here, I invite you to download our ABC 24 app. It is a totally free download. Just search ABC 24 in the App Store or Google Play. If a bad storm happens to pop back up, we'll send you an alert right to your phone. And if your power goes out, you can also watch us live just like you do on TV. So it's really a handy tool. We've also got the radar and the latest hour-by-hour forecast. So again, you can go to sleep soundly as long as you have that phone alert on. We'll send you an alert if a bad storm is headed your way. I do want to get you some reports before we go. We had a tornado warning earlier for northern Hardman County. It looks like we honestly might have had a tornado just south of Jackson, Tennessee and Madison County. Some reports south of Jackson where we might have had a couple of trees on houses, but there are no injuries that were reported. So there were some trees on houses. That's going to be down south of Jackson, Tennessee, mainly down near the Pinson area. So south of Jackson, between Highway 18 and Pinson, a couple of trees down there. Again, that could have been from high wind, could have been from a tornado. So again, we're just about to sign off here. That tornado warning is going to expire. Heavy rain and high wind now really a North Mississippi issue. Things are really clearing up in western Tennessee. I don't think we have much more to worry about here. Eastern Arkansas is pretty much cleared out as well. But it's North Mississippi for at least the next couple of hours. High wind, heavy rain, and some hail possible as those storms move to the south. But for right now, nothing looks overly concerning. Now, if that changes, I'm just starting my shift, so I will hop right back on TV. But for right now, since nothing looks too alarming, just some regular old thunderstorms moving through, we are going to sign off ABC 24 and our digital platforms. Again, if anything pops back up, we are going to be right back on the air. But for now, again, it just looks like some plain old thunderstorms that aren't really posing a huge threat. So if they happen to ramp back up, we'll be back on 2. But for right now, as we come up on 2 a.m., for meteorologist Corey Smith, all the folks in the back helping us out, I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett. We'll return you to regular programming. I'll see you back here for the news at 6 a.m.